Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 276. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, alongside Johnny V, who apparently you're going cash tonight, are we?
I was up this morning at about 4:45 a.m. to catch a 6 a.m. I'm sorry, it was a 7 a.m. flight, but I had a 45-minute drive. I was in Florida this morning, so and I was up late last night drinking.
Wow.
And I did not get a chance to shower, so I just threw on some casual clothes, hit the airline, hit the airport, got on the flight, came here, kind of crashed on the couch for a few minutes. Then I had kids and dinner and reading and a couple other things to take
ballin',
care of.
man. Jet setting, out traveling, gallivanting, as I think most mothers would say.
Really good food down in the panhandle of Florida. I was down in the seaside area, which is Destin, Panama City Beach, seaside, some very, very, very wealthy areas down there. And it's all off season right now. So I had to go down there for work, take care of a migration for my company, just acquired another company. And just found out today, we're going to acquire another company in Florida on
Yes,
1st
I'll
of
go.
January.
Yes,
And,
I'll go.
I don't think I'm going to get to go to the 1st of January one because I need to let my assistant hit Florida every once in a while, as much as I would love to be down there every weekend in I would say December through February. It would be okay for me.
Well, I am excited, and that is a little segue to next week. I'm fortunate enough I'll be heading again to the South Florida Open. Been down there for the last few years covering that PDGA A tier, Pat Duncan and crew, and I believe he's got Juha coming into town or is already in town from Finland, who's going to be on the assist with that, and super excited. That's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event, and so I'll be in a different spot from where you were at, looking to be in that West Palm Beach area, Kobe Geis neck of the woods, I think some would say. But looking forward to finding some of that Florida weather myself next week. So tonight should be a pretty fun show for you. We decided to we went into the machine and we pulled out Will Schusterick, who we just haven't heard from lately. So it was perfect to catch up with him. And no joke, it just happened to fall on such a great day where earlier Will and Prodigy had announced that they're coming out with a new line of discs called Ace Line discs. And I know there's a video out there, so if you want to, you'll be able to check that out on your own. That probably has a few of the answers I'm sure you're looking for, but it'll be great to hear from the man himself. So we're going to check in with Will Schusterick in actually just a few minutes. And then after that, almost literally coming straight off the runway, we're getting Holly Finley to join us tonight. Also, someone we haven't checked in with in a long time. In fact, we were saying just before the show that she wasn't sure when the last time she visited with us, and I said, well, right there is reason enough to prove it's been too long. So we'll be glad to check in with her, see how her season went, and maybe some of the things we might see from her in 2020 and beyond. So that's pretty much the plan here for tonight. Of course, then afterwards we'll talk about a few things going on in disc golf outside of our two guests. And after that, probably an after show to, wrap up all the goodies that may or may not be disc golf related. So we're glad you guys are here, of course, with us tonight. We know that the postponing of last night's show into tonight, as Johnny V had mentioned, with all of his major Florida acquisitions, or would you get a piece of Florida he now owns. So
just the panhandle. Nobody really cares about the panhandle too much. Wow. It's kind of cheap. The rest of Florida. It's really funny. My boss is originally from, I guess they kind of maybe, even though it doesn't make sense, I think they call it mainland Florida, which is the area that hangs down, the mainland and not the panhandle. The people in the mainland kind of just assume everyone in the panhandle are, for better or worse, I believe the term was rednecks.
Wow.
And now having been down there, that's clearly not the case. There's a bunch of wonderful, wonderful little cities down there and beautiful people and gorgeous sunsets. But the two areas are almost like two separate states because they don't really see eye to eye on a lot of things. It's kind of like what we saw, or what I saw with the two different cities I was in, Panama City Beach and Destin. Panama City Beach is kind of like it's a tourist trap. It's like a Wisconsin Dells. They've got go-karting and all this other stuff. Destin is this high-end luxury beach type area, and the two just don't really interact with each other. Because I had set one of our users up on their email system. I set up their signature file and said, oh, they're in Panama City Beach. And she goes, oh, I can't have that. And I'm like, why is that? She's like, I don't want our Destin customers to think that I'm in Panama City. That just wouldn't fly. And I'm like, really? You're literally 45 minutes away from each other.
I don't have time for all those Florida politics.
It's
but
just,
wow,
I know, it's just
sounds maddening.
It's such a weird, I don't get it. I don't get people in general, but what I do know is on Monday, we dropped a video called Bad Breaks and Bad Shots. If you haven't seen it, go out to our YouTube page. It'll make you feel good about your golf game. Let's put it that way. If you don't cringe or get that sinking feeling in your gut at least 3 or 4 times during that video, you're not a tournament golfer probably, because there are some really bad breaks, bad spits, bad shots, and it's been getting some pretty good reception. Murder Mike actually just jacked a little bit of it without so it's good. We've now made it. If Murder Mike is ripping off our material, then you've made it. All right. Speaking of making things, let's see if we can get Will Schusterick on the line. We're going to talk again about the new line of discs and get caught up. We don't see Will out on the tour quite as much as we've been seeing teammates in Chris Dickerson. We've been seeing we've also been seeing Kevin Jones out there quite a bit. And we've seen Will, and I know Will even participated in an event recently, and I think it'll be great to check on and see what's going on with him. So coming in from our digital green room, the Disc Baron digital green room, Will Schusterick.
Hello there, everybody.
Hey, Will.
Hey, Will. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. How you guys been?
Busy. It's the off season, and yet things don't seem to slow down. If it's not, Smashbox business stuff doing behind the scenes, or work, or Smashbox in general, highlight videos, there's always something to keep us busy. So, and it sounds like
I can relate to you on that.
Yeah. So getting right into it this morning, what I feel like was maybe breaking news for some, and of course I'm sure there's some insiders that knew it was coming, but was that breaking news for everyone today? You guys dropping the Ace line of discs, dropping the news of the Ace line of discs with Prodigy?
I would say it's breaking news for a majority of people. Something that a lot of people don't know. I'll give you a little bit of the backstory on it. The discs were actually sold overseas and in Canada for probably 8 months, and nobody noticed, or nobody really said anything. So it was kind of like a test market, I guess you could call it. And then we actually had them at the Play It Again Sports trade show in October. I was there a week after USDGC as well. And so we had them there, and we actually changed the logo just a little bit so it has the Prodigy star on it, because I have one right in front of me. You can see the Prodigy star obviously right there. The first models actually didn't have that star on there. And you'll kind of see those. Those are actually only overseas and in Canada, like I just mentioned.
So discs, of course, have been primarily manufactured in the U.S. going way back. When we talk about early days of Innova and Discraft and so on and so forth. And then it was last year when one of the larger pieces of news, now we've seen Ching and we've seen other discs, of course, made in other places outside of the U.S. by a number of companies. But it was really in this last year we saw a big conversation that took place when we saw UC and Discmania talk about how they're kind of branching out and working with a couple of different manufacturers, including bringing in a China market, or bringing in a company from China to collaborate with. You guys are different in that you are totally owning the operation over there, or break it down for us.
Yeah, and that is something that I do want to be pretty straightforward with. For a lot of people, they ask us if we're working with Equin, and Equin is the company overseas, the YIKUN. A lot of people call it Yikin or
Yukin
anything
or
like that.
However else
exactly.
I call it wrong. Okay, so say it again so I know.
Equin.
Equin. Okay.
Equin. Yep, Equin. And so I went over to China last year with some other people from Prodigy, Michael Sullivan, David Greenwell, and I met the guys from Equin. We actually ran the tournament, the first PDGA tournament ever over there in China, which is going on, I think, this weekend or next weekend, one or the other. I can't remember. But anyways, we went to, which is our factory, and then we were making discs at the time, testing them out, and went through some of the process of the discs that we're making, the plastic, and going through, of course, kind of the standard R&D type stuff. So it's been in the works for quite a while now, and yes, it is owned and operated by Prodigy. So the disc, the molds, the control of what goes on, what comes over here, and anything like that goes only through Prodigy because it's by Prodigy.
Wow. I'm very blessed that I know a little bit of insider info just from talking to a lot of the manufacturers. We're a pretty tight-knit community. I've been to Legacy and Innova and so on and so forth. So I've seen some of the processing, but it makes me think, will you have entirely separate molds all just housed and held and created there? Will any of your molds ever go from, say, Georgia or wherever you're manufacturing here over to there? Will there be any duplication in molds that are made?
I don't envision that happening. No, I mean, anything that comes from Ace is going to be an Ace disc, or Ace line disc, and that's just kind of how it is, And we'll everything is branded underneath the Prodigy name. It'll have the Ace line name on it, and we put our name on everything Ace because we work on designing the disc, designing the plastics. If there's improvements that needs to be on the plastics or the discs, or the future of making additional discs, as we said in the video, we're making 5 stabilities in every disc that we have: the P model, F model, M model, D model, and then additional ones after that. We did get all feedback from top players, pros, advanced, intermediate players of what they want to see, how they like discs to fly in a certain stability range, and that's what we geared those discs towards, and we worked hard to make it pretty awesome.
Now, one of the things that I've loved about the day you really entered the game and started doing more than just playing is you've always been on top of researching. You've always been on top of what the players want, what needs to be done from a manufacturing side. So I have to ask, where does the insight come to brand it something else as opposed to Prodigy China or any other name? Where did you guys and why did you say, okay, this is going to be a separate name brand that's still under the Prodigy umbrella?
There's, of course, positive, negatives on everything. I wasn't at the forefront of that marketing decision, I guess you could call it that. But the positive side of it is it's something a little bit of a different brand that people don't necessarily relate to Prodigy, but the Prodigy name is still on it. There's you could go back and forth for quite a while, but when it comes down to it, the Ace line is different than Prodigy. I think when the people see the base grip plastic, they're going to notice that it's comparable to the 300 and the 350G type stuff. And then the Duraflex, which is the higher grade material, is going to be like the 400 and the 400G material. So they'll notice the kind of similarities, but it's also way different at the same time. So we wanted to distinguish those, but also have the relation kind of similar to the naming system. We went back and forth on, do we want to call it something that has to do with like an actual name, like you could say conventional disc golf companies use now? Or do we want to stick with the Prodigy naming system and make it easy to understand? So where they see P, they think of putter. They see S, they think of stable or straight, or OS as overstable. So there was a lot of back and forth in what we wanted to do and call it. And, it's a kind of a round table of ideas.
Is there an analogy? Is there any other companies out there in any other industry that you would use for these? I mean, people are immediately asking, is this like how we saw, we'll say way back in the day, like an early Innova and Innova and Discmania, like one producing the other, or in the Trilogy family, they're really 3 distinct companies, but yet all kind of share some branding. Do you have any analogies, maybe even outside of disc golf, for how you would describe the relationship?
I'm sure that it exists somewhere along the golf range. I'm sure that it does. I wish I had a great analogy for it, but I just don't right now. Okay. But what it comes down to is that Ace line is owned and operated by Prodigy. There's not somebody behind the scenes who is, making these molds, making these decisions on marketing and releasing these discs or these plastics or, what comes out next or anything like that. It's all owned and operated by Prodigy.
So then I think a very natural question would be, can any sponsored player of Prodigy then also be throwing discs from the Ace line? And
Yeah.
will you have separate Ace line sponsored players or not?
We don't plan to do that right now. We have a pretty large team at this point. So when we initially brought up Ace line sponsored players, we kind of laughed just because we already have over 300 or close to 400 players that we try to manage and help make happy, I guess you could call it like that. So adding more to them would, we're going to add more to the team anyways, but it kind of made everybody laugh a little bit whenever we brought that up.
That's a whole nother department, a whole nother set of people, right?
Right.
So I have to ask, and I apologize, I don't know. Is ACE an acronym for anything?
It's not. I can't say that it is. I think it's just meant for Ace.
Oh, okay. Because when I kept seeing it written today, I thought it was very distinct that Ace, as it was written, were all capitalized. At first I wrote it as not capitalized, and I'm like, no, I want to stick consistent with what they did. And then I thought,
must be capitalized, Terry.
Yeah,
Very
okay.
important.
Well, then Ace, then
It's
I'm
part of
like,
the branding.
well, then it clearly stands for something.
No.
But now you're melting my brain, Will. Come on.
We just saw
I'll wait
Facebook
I'll
go
wait
through
for
a
you to send me
redesign.
what it stands for.
Okay. You don't want me in charge of any of those departments. Let me tell you. So, is it a fair statement, again, from a little bit more technical development side, is it a fair statement to say that materials, the plastic pellets, those types of things that are used for this plastic, I know you said they're going to have a similar feel, but they'll likely be all sourced from over in China, and
Yes.
some of the pellets and such that are used for plastics here may or may not be coming from the same distributor. Is that true or not necessarily?
I wouldn't. No, you're not going to see any similarities between the Prodigy plastic and the Ace line plastic.
Huh. Okay.
So
yeah.
to answer your question, I guess that would be a no.
So I'm just reading through the article on the prodigydisc.com website saying that there's going to be 4 different categories. You've got the D for distance, F fairway, M for mid-range, and P for putter, as well as the 5 levels of stability, S, OS, US, along with OS plus and US plus for understable, overstable, obviously. I guess I don't really have a question. Can you elaborate as far as, because we've seen, you talked about the Prodigy naming conventions moving over to this. Are they comparable as far as the stabilities and things between the two brands, or are they measured even differently? Because we've seen different ratings and speeds for different
Right.
companies aren't always equal. Are you guys going to try to kind of keep that similar between the two lines?
Something that we've actually gone back and forth on that we added on the Ace line disc is flight numbers. Something that a lot of people have asked about on Prodigy disc that we don't include is flight numbers. And we've added them onto the Ace line disc just to, I think it's a little bit of a test run, also to see, if it really makes a big difference out there in the market, or if it's, what section of the market actually looks at flight numbers and understands them. When it comes to the stability of it, as you mentioned, the 5 stabilities, when it comes to Prodigy, 1 being the most overstable, 7 being the most understable, that would put 3 to 4 being at about that stable or straight range. So when it comes down to the driver and the putter and the fairway driver, I would say that those fit into the category of about the 3 range. So the D Model S actually flies pretty similar to the D3. In my experience with throwing it and a lot of feedback that we've gotten it. So you can think of the S as a 3 in each line or very close to that type of stability. So once you kind of understand those naming conventions, you realize, it is similar. Of course, it's a little bit different. You think of it differently, or you don't really think of it like that, I guess. And then, of course, obviously the acronym P for putter, M for mid-range. Of course, that's pretty easy to understand.
I hope so at this point. For all of us.
Well, and I was just going to say,
Right.
and I think seeing Prodigy when you guys came out with your naming convention a few years ago, it really genuinely makes the most sense. And people can love it or hate it, but at the end of the day, it makes the most sense. Like everything you need to know about a disc and how it flies pretty much is right there in the name.
Yeah, and speed and stability is the two things that really matter the most. And it's hard to judge glide. It's hard to judge turn because those things change with the way that the disc gets beat up. The speed doesn't necessarily change the stability changes just a little bit, of course, the little bit more it gets beaten up. So, a lot of the discs you're going to grab it. You like the way that it feels. You're going to throw it. And you're really going to like the way it flies.
I'm not going to lie. I've been saying this for years. When it's always, to me, and I don't manufacture discs, but it's always convenient when a new disc comes out and it just happens to fit in that perfect quadrant of that little space that didn't already have those 4 numbers. Seems to always happen every single time.
And conveniently.
And I still even think, like, who's measuring when someone says, well, I think that's got a glide of a 5, and someone's like, nope, that's got a glide of a 4. I mean, like you said, I think glide, is that the toughest one to measure?
I would say I didn't make the flight numbers. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. It's
all right. I mean, you grew up with flight numbers. Those were me and Johnny. You grew up with flight numbers.
I don't know.
No,
how old do you think I am? Do you think do you think I'm pretty young right now?
No, I was just thinking, like, not really.
I had pre-flight number discs.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
by the time, flight numbers.
When were flight numbers introduced? Anyone? The board?
I'm going to go with
2010, 2011?
Yeah. They were on disc like 2010, 2011.
Yeah. Okay.
When they changed the production stamps to start adding it underneath the line of the disc.
So I guess, and this isn't an anti-flight number rant or anything, but is it safe to say that you don't put as much stock in them as maybe other people do?
Well, it's different. Everybody thinks of it different ways, and being in the business that we're in, you have to think of it on every level. So if there's people that look at flight numbers and they decide on buying discs off of flight numbers, then you have to give it some type of thought and put it into the round table of discussion to figure out, do we need to add it or not?
No, it makes sense.
Yeah, my big soapbox on them is that they're 100% inconsistent because there's no global uniform testing or system. What you rate something as a disc might be dead on for your flight numbers, and then company A and C and D and F may have a flight number disc that's the exact same that flies nothing like yours. It's not a global scale, and that's, I think, my biggest issue with the whole concept.
And as Ronald Harkey on the board is pointing out, the pros don't really use them because it barely applies to them. Because the way your form and your speed and your throw does not equal what the average person who picks up a disc is. It's
right. Yeah.
So now, in developing these, let's talk about that research. Is that who is most involved? Let's maybe ask it that way. I think about your top pros on your team and all the people you work with, your and the people who are molding the discs. Well, who's involved with this main research and development of these discs?
It was very close to the same people into the research and development with the Prodigy disc when it comes down to Phil Arthur and Michael Sullivan and some other people behind the scenes when it comes to testing the plastic and making sure the plastic is the correct field, correct durability, correct tackiness that you want to have on a putter, along with the very durable Duraflex plastic. You want to make sure that of course, as all disc manufacturers will talk about, the blended plastic being different than what's out there on the market, but also something that is comparable on what everybody wants to feel. They want something that's nice and grippy while having a little bit of stiffness in the rim to where you can grip it nice and tight and throw hard and know that it's going to be confident coming out of your hand. So that's really what it comes down to whenever you're testing the plastic, when it comes to the base grip and the Duraflex, and getting the correct feel on the disc, I think has a lot to do with a lot of experience on discs that are popular, discs that fly well, discs that people have in their bag currently that are already popular molds that, we might be able to model something after along the lines of flight characteristics and get it to where it fits that certain market of player to where it flies for their arm speed.
Well, so I guess I'll follow that up by saying a disc is made, it's spit out, popped out of the injection molding machine.
Molding.
Wow. It's spit out. Who does it get handed to you, Kevin Jones, Chris Dickerson, and you guys head out to a field? Seppo?
It's a little bit different since the discs are made overseas, of course. But when that happens at the Prodigy warehouse, that is what happens. Is we make the disc, we go out to the field, we test them. If it's a certain day, then we set it up with, say, Chris Dickerson. We take the new disc out to the field, we throw it out there, we test it, we shuck it on the road a bunch of times, throw it again, chuck it into some bricks, try it again, and you really have kind of a laundry list of things that you go through to make sure the disc is going to pass the test of throwing into a headwind, throwing into a tailwind, see how it flies, and throw it hard on a slight turnover, slight hyzer. There's a lot of ways to test the disc to make sure that it is ready for, I guess you could say, ready for competition, ready out there on the course. And we did the same thing with these discs. Of course, it's a little bit, you could call it a longer process. I got the great option of being there in China, and while we were making discs, I could go out there and test them and watch them fly, and threw them for a long time. We were in this process for about 2 years of fairly long development, I would say, but it's time very well worth it. I think the discs are great, and people are going to see a pretty big difference between these and the Prodigy disc, which is a good option.
Well, and that also goes to my next question, which is, do you see these discs replacing discs in we'll say a sponsored player's bag right now, or do you see them complementing them and going in addition to discs in their bag?
Yeah, I know that Chris Dickerson is throwing the P Model S that just came out. I think that Seppo is also throwing with it or putting with it. I think Kevin Jones was trying it out. I think that the P Model S and the F Model S are going to be two discs that will make it into pro players' bags or advanced players' bags, just because it's a different type of putter and it's a different type of fairway driver that Prodigy didn't really offer before, being that 10-speed fairway and being another putter with a bead on it, since we only offer the PA3 with a bead. So feels like the PA3 flies a little bit straighter, but just once again, it's just a little bit different. So I think those two are really going to be something that you're going to see a lot of people throw, especially in the Duraflex plastic.
All right. So then when we talk about having the manufacturing and all the things that are all the advantages you're gaining by having your manufacturing, another big conversation piece is the price point. Where do you see these fitting in terms of a price point here, at least in the U.S.?
Yeah, the price point is going to be, you're going to be able to buy it for $7.99 to $8.99 anywhere out there. So it's going to be within that realm. There'll also be the 3-disc starter set, which is something that we've always wanted to offer. We could have offered it in the past with Prodigy, but there has to be, again, there's a specific price point for the 99% of the disc golf market that you have to hit. And that's, where a lot of people are right now who are getting into the sport that are not touched. And our company might not necessarily be in that realm, but we're moving into that stage really quick. And it's something that is really big and pretty exciting for us to bring out and be able to offer at this, what is an awesome price and very comparable, especially with the quality of plastic and the quality of disc. I think that it's unmatched out there.
So someone like myself that's can buy at wholesale, are these discs also going to be available if I were to make an order? I'm a pro shop or a league or whatever someone is. Are they going to be able to also purchase these at wholesale pricing?
Yes, and that's actually what we were working on all day. As we were so busy at the warehouse, most of the people who were there had to go back there and pack orders because we had so many orders that we didn't think we were going to get out for a few days. So it's all hands on deck to get discs and boxes and out the doors.
Well,
It's a good problem to have.
yeah, exactly.
It's not a bad problem. Yeah.
And that was gonna earlier when you and I touched base briefly, and I want to talk about your tournament. Like, it's clear we haven't talked in long enough that I didn't even realize you had moved from Tennessee to Georgia. You didn't ask me to help you move, so apparently it wasn't that big of a problem.
Didn't need your help.
What else am I missing? What other life changes here are we missing out on? I know you went on vacation recently. You enjoyed Hawaii.
That was kind of funny that you didn't know I lived in Georgia. I thought once I updated on the PDJ, I thought everybody in the world knew.
I didn't get my notification.
Should have said, well, yeah, should have got a notification.
When did you move to
Changed
Georgia?
Addresses. It was about a year ago.
Okay. Well,
it's been a little while. So my wife and I moved down here, and we both work full time for Prodigy. So that's been a little bit of a nice change, and of course a little bit different. Kind of the reason why I haven't been out there playing a bunch of tournaments, but it's really fun. It's a lot of work, and of course, days like these are what we work for, to where we have these awesome releases and getting the discs out there to the people.
So 2 follow-ups to that is, as you said, you are there now working. A, what is your actual title with Prodigy Discs?
Sales manager.
And B, what is your day-to-day? Like, and I know today's a little crazier than normal, but what would you say is like a somewhat typical day for you?
Somewhat typical day goes about 3 days out of the week. I'll wake up at 4:30 and go to the gym, and then I'll be back in my house at about 6:30, maybe 6 o'clock or so. I'll either make pancakes or eggs, and then get ready for work. We get to work at about 8 o'clock every day, work till 5, come home, feed my dogs, play a little disc golf if it's not the winter, and then do the same thing the next day usually. It kind of depends now, of course, with the sun going down. You can't really, there's really no time after 5:30 to do anything. So setting up Christmas lights, setting up Christmas trees, that kind of stuff, holiday type things going on.
So when you're not developing an entirely new line of discs, though, and you're working from the sales manager perspective, is that you typically calling and talking to pro shop owners? Are you talking to tournament directors? Are you talking to big box stores? What are some of the kind of the daily routine there?
Yeah, we have a full team. I think that we have a pretty incredible team at the warehouse right now. Is continuing to grow more and more, which is something that's even more exciting. My wife runs the street team and really all of the sponsored players, and making sure they get what they need, along with some other stuff around the office. Along with we have a sales staff that's growing and getting bigger, and we have a new manufacturing facility that we're making some incredible discs and making some really big pushes for 2020 season. Of course, bringing in the Ace line is just something on top of what we're already growing on. And then the city itself of Dalton, Georgia, is pushing really hard to bring in a lot of disc golf courses. As I'm going, we've ran a couple tournaments this year, but they're very, very active about wanting to get lots of courses in town. As when I came to town, I call it, there was about half a disc golf course, but there was an 18-hole course that it's kind of a joke between my friends, but I really only got through 3 of the 18 holes 4 different times, and I couldn't get to hole 4 because I just couldn't get through the course. So we actually worked with the local recreation department, and they had plans to do a course about 4 years ago. And when we moved here, of course, it was a little bit more incentive to get it back going. We worked with them. We put in West Side Disc Golf Course, which has gotten really good reviews. They showed up at our warehouse one day and said, we want to add 18 more baskets so we can get 2 baskets on each hole. They bought the baskets that day, put the baskets in. Then I mentioned to them about elevating a basket and making it like a tiered basket location, to where they made it 40 feet wide, about 3.5 feet tall. And then it goes in about 15 or 20 feet. And then they made another tiered location. But long story short, they spent a lot of money to be able to make this basket location pretty incredible. And it's really different coming from a big city like Nashville to a small town like Dalton, Georgia, and seeing them really grab disc golf and obviously put money into it because they see people traveling to play this one disc golf course. And so they, of course, think the more disc golf courses they're going to get, the more people that are going to come in. And that's the reality of it. So we're excited about bringing multiple courses to this area and some big tournaments coming within the next year.
I mean, it's hard not to draw parallels to a city like Emporia, something you could easily point them to and say, look at what we've done for this look, our sport has done for this small city. We can do the same. We can bring in this big event. We can bring so much money into the community based on, hosting these large events. It could be, it's a win-win situation for them.
Right, exactly. And it's just, it's a matter of being professional, of course, knowing what you're doing and having a nice presentation. And it's been really helpful with them, the way they actually all play disc golf now. The people who work for the rec department and people who work for the city, they go out there and play all the time. So it's nice to get somebody hooked like that, and then they're out there playing all the time. And so it's pretty awesome. Anybody who's driving, 75 south, coming from up north to down south, you can stop about 5 miles off the road and play Westside Park.
Well, and to not downplay it on your side, I mean, when you have a well-polished, well-put-together, 3-time, United States champion that then is having this conversation with you, I think it just, of course, that just having that in your back pocket and
adds
you
legitimacy.
Yeah, exactly. So that's awesome to see. It's so impactful, the things that you can do. This last weekend, you played in an event that's been pretty near and dear to you, right?
Yeah, the Belgian Turkey.
Yeah, exactly.
Played the tournament about 11 years now, which is kind of crazy to think about.
And you've won it a handful of times?
Yep. It's in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It's at a course that's called the Sinks, which I think was crowned the most popular disc golf course in Tennessee from UDisc. Okay. So little side note there. And then they play it at another little temp course that's called, I think it's at the Chickamauga Dam. It's just a temp course that goes around a lake. That's a cool setup, but it's one of those tournaments that everybody's played for so long and it fills up in about 10 minutes. So even a lot of the locals get shut out of the tournament if they're not signing up on time.
So before we let you go here in a little bit, we do want to catch up on where are you at with, injuries or what your plans are for playing. Clearly, the business world has consumed so much of your time and your energy. But like we just said, you're a 3-time champion, USDGC champion, and with hundreds of other victories. Where are you competitively right now?
I'm definitely playing a little less. As I mentioned, it's really hard to play whenever you get off work at 5 o'clock and the sun goes down at 5:30. But I play on the weekends. I try to play so local tournaments. But as you mentioned, the number one thing that matters is to me is the business side of it right now. And I hope to make it so big of a company one day that I'll be able to go back and go full tour one time. It might happen again. It might not. Don't know at this point in where we're at, but I wouldn't really say that there's much of an injury concern. I think with taking a little bit of time off of, working for Prodigy and playing a little less and staying active and going to the gym and sticking to those routines, I think really makes a big difference. And when it comes down to it, you're just not having as much of a workload, I guess, whenever you're playing so much every day. I played 40 tournaments a year for almost 10 years straight, 35 to 40 tournaments for that long. I drove 50,000 miles a year. So it was a lot of traveling, a lot of playing. And of course I love it and I would love to go back to it. It also kind of puts things in perspective whenever you are going to work every day and working on something and then you get to go out and enjoy playing disc golf. It makes a little bit more enjoying.
Well, we all know.
Enjoyable.
Well, we all know. Everybody's like, oh man, he's got like the best job in the world. He like just disc golfs all day. And it's like, you can tell everyone it's absolutely not just disc golfing all day.
Yeah, you're not just out there goofing off with your buddies. It's you're doing a lot of stuff. I mean, and especially nowadays with the 4-day tournaments, I think that's really going to make it to where you just can't play 30 plus tournaments a year. It's really, really difficult to do that and actually be able to, if you don't live anywhere, I guess you could do that. You can go from tournament to tournament to tournament to tournament and play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, leave Sunday night, get somewhere, practice Monday, Tuesday. And, at that point, you maybe have one day off if you're lucky. And that's if you're driving on Monday, sitting in a car. And then you're playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that's, pretty tough to hold up, especially when you're playing really big events with a lot of money. And, that's what's going to get you to the next tournament. So it's pretty tough out there traveling. There's no doubt about it. And I know, obviously what it takes to be out there and travel and tour. And there's a lot of respect to those guys who are trying to do it.
We continue to grow and evolve. And in some ways, I feel like we're taking so many steps forward, and in other ways, things remain a little bit stagnant. And here you've just transitioned your role from being that hardcore touring person to now having so much more of an effort in an actual office setting. But nonetheless, it's still a grind. And then along those lines, one of the last times we did talk, though, disc golf instruction. I get my occasional email updates.
I'm glad you opened those.
Where for everyone out there, where's that going? What's going on with it? What can people expect? Maybe is the best way to put that.
Yeah, I would love to be able to spend some more time and actually create the pro segment of disc golf instruction. And I think that it will happen one day for sure. I've of course have those days where I sit around and I think of what it's going to take to be able to initially compile a list of what I think makes a pro disc golfer and how to teach those specific tips or techniques or training or practice sessions and all those things that go into being a pro disc golfer. So when somebody does purchase a DGI Pro Series video, they're going to know what it takes to be a pro or know a practice session or just anything like that. And, on my side time, I guess if I do ever have any side time, I'm working at, creating some content and sending some tips out there that, even if it is a small email with a small tip, if it's once a week for, however long, then, it's a little something that people can go in and read and check it out, and maybe it improves their game, and maybe next week it does, or the next week, somebody can always get something out of that. And that's kind of my goal, is always try to teach and grow disc golf. And that's my little way of having like an output of just putting it out there and having fun a little bit.
Well, it's no secret. You're one of the more articulate, yes, I'm trying to spit out the word. Nailed it. Presenters that we have in our sport. And a lot of people have talked about it online of how much they've gained from you, either in a video series or in person. And so that skill set that you have of being able to actually show and teach people obviously is just so giving for, so many of the players out there. So I think just more people would love to see it. And I know I kind of chuckled when you said in your spare time. We all know there's just simply not a lot of that. If you're busy and you're working hard in disc golf, spare time is kind of is very
minimal,
or isn't really much of a thing. So I know how that goes, but
yeah.
So we have two questions on the board, coming from clearly some Prodigy fans. The FX2. What can you tell us about the FX2?
Ooh.
Oh, he's got it.
No, that's not. No, what?
Is this a SmashBoxx exclusive? What?
What if I just said no? That's not it.
It's like no, this is just something.
No, this is the cover to my pumpkin pie casing.
It is the FX2. We've been messing it around a little bit. That was actually talking about Chris Dickerson actually helped a lot with the design of the disc a little bit, and the way that the way he thought that it needed to look, and something that the Prodigy lineup needed. And it's a disc I think that doesn't necessarily it's a lot different than a lot of the discs that we have out there right now, honestly. And it's easy to say that, of course, whenever you're trying to talk about a disc, you're coming out with something new, but it is exciting. I think it's something that we will do next year, of course, being kind of towards the end of the year. And this big release of 4 additional molds in the Ace line, that'll probably be it for us in 2019, as we're, of course, looking at pushing that. And with Christmas around the corner, we want to make sure those get out there and get on the shelves. But Next year, you can of course see the FX2, and I know there's a couple pros out there that are chucking those around and testing them out, like I mentioned, and making sure that we get all of the return and feedback that we need before we go into full production with that.
All I care about is the flight numbers. Okay. Did you have another question lined up?
I'll write flight numbers on there for you.
It's hand marker them for you.
Hand marker everyone.
For Terry. Somebody's asking about right now. The big popular thing is swirly discs, and Terry and I have joked about, we've seen different trends come and go throughout the years, but someone's asking, are we going to see more swirly discs from Prodigy?
Yes, that's something that we've been doing. Specifically, that's so funny that you guys said that, because I also have a super swirly disc here.
Believe it or not, folks, we did not set any of this up.
Everyone that knows us knows we don't do any prep. So,
what do you got there? Let's see that again, though. That looks beautiful.
I had to do a little bit of prep myself, just in case you guys had to bring up some swirly disc action. But we make plastic that's called Spectrum, and so we do Spectrum plastic. That's of course a mixture of colors, and we do it in 300, 350G, 400, 400G, 750, 750. We do it in every plastic that we offer. So those are of course just random color assortments that when dealers order them, it's not necessarily like they get yellow, blue, green, red. It's really just a bunch of mixtures of colors. And again, this goes into us being able to make discs on our own time frame, and being able to do research and development on making the best and coolest looking swirly disc that anybody has ever seen. And that's the goal whenever we show up, is to, of course, try to be the best and make the best out there. So I really think some of the swirly discs that we have coming in are just like pretty mind blowing. It's hard. I have to stay away. I don't look at discs.
Yeah,
I just stay in my office and try to not look through anything.
All too tempting, because all of a sudden that personal take home stack just keeps growing and growing. And
yeah, I don't take home many discs. I don't know. I think that's something that once you're around so many discs for so long, it's just kind of like once you get it out the door, it's gone, and then more come in and more come in, and
there's always something really cool you could take. And if
there's another,
if you took them all,
there's always something else.
All right. One of the final questions we'll ask from the board is 500 plastic going to be similar to Luster from now on, or will it be that? And how is it on the Cat X3?
Yeah, that's actually what this FX2 is in here. And it's probably hard to see in this phone. You can maybe see it a little bit. Maybe not. Not going to take too much time to do that. But yes, it's actually a little bit more metallic-y looking on the edges. And so we just did some special edition 500 series H4 V2s for Disc Store in their disc member box. And so those will be going out, and anybody who is a disc member or is a part of that monthly club, both of you guys, lucky you, I'll tell you that, because you're going to be getting a 500 series H4 V2 and then a 300 soft PA4, which is also a new plastic that we came out with 2 weeks ago.
Spoilers.
Yes.
Or exclusives.
Boom.
SmashBoxx is a supporter of Disc Member, and what we usually do is when we get the box, we turn around and give it away to one of our patrons. So that's
there you go.
That's probably what we'll end up doing, maybe. And that's going to be in the upcoming box, do you know, or next month?
Yes, it's coming out. I think that they shipped it this week.
Yeah,
so,
I saw the shipping notice come through my email.
So those are going to be 500 H4 V2s and 300 soft PA4s, and both with a different stamp on it. So they're pretty sweet logos. They always make really good looking logos out there.
Nice.
Great.
All right. Well, before we let you go, we just have to ask, is there anything we didn't ask you that you want to share, that you want to freely share with us? It doesn't have to be an exclusive, although everybody loves them, some special news or insider info, but anything you want to share that we didn't ask you.
How come your tree has no topper?
We're getting it.
Those are the hard-hitting questions.
Easy.
I just noticed. I looked in the back, and there's no topper on that tree. I'm almost offended.
Not yet. We got to cut off the top. We got one with the extended top, so you can't put a topper on it to go into.
Okay, all right.
We might go with the bow.
Oh, classic.
It's really we got to decide on what we're gonna do.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah,
bow on top of a tree.
A bow on top, a big bow. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys do things different down in Georgia.
That's right. I can't really think of anything outside of the topics that we were talking about, besides haven't really been out there on the tournament scene, just good old Georgia.
Okay. Well, I will say we must make our visits a little bit more regular here and frequent. We love catching up with you. We love, all of the Prodigy superstars that we're seeing out there every weekend. It continues to make it more and more exciting. Kevin Jones, such a great addition here to the team, obviously, in 2019. And then Seppo's constantly putting out content for everybody to, keep up with what's going on. And you got some of those other guys out there giving us content from the road. We love seeing it all. And Will, I guess, maybe next time you'll have to, we'll have to check in with you from your sales office. Maybe you can show us some spreadsheets or something, some of that exciting
That's
stuff.
right. Everybody loves a good spreadsheet.
They do. All right, pal. Well, we do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Of course, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all that good stuff to you and your wife. And
you guys too.
Looking forward to catching up with you again soon, sometime in 2020.
Okay.
Sounds good. Right. Have a good night.
Thanks,
See
Will.
See you.
Again, Will Schusterick, a man who has worn, well, very figuratively, has worn and continues to wear many hats. He's not much of a hat guy.
No, I don't think I've ever seen him in a hat. He wears a hat about as frequently as I do, probably.
Yeah, but so good to catch up with him. Clearly long overdue, and glad that he could check in with us. Lots of good stuff going on over there at Prodigy. Like I said, we so frequently get kind of the insider info from like a vlog or some of the travel series. We see what Seppo's been doing and being really active with. And I know there's just a lot of us that really miss seeing Will week in and week out. And clearly he's got some other things going on that is keeping him plenty busy. And plenty of busy also is our next guest. And we'll see if we can get her ready and dialed up here in just a few moments. We're going to have Holly Finley join us. Also, another person that I know quite active on and off the course. And I know we've been seeing her tour a little bit more, but we'll see what her plans are for 2020 as she continues to elevate her player rating and her status out on the course. I think it sounds like she's just getting herself ready, so we'll get with her in just a moment. In the meantime, disc member box, sounds like some of our Smashies are going to be in for quite a treat when that gets put together by Prodigy. And
2 discs.
We turn around and
we don't. The disc member boxes don't always come with 2 discs. Sometimes it's a disc and a T-shirt and things like that. So whoever's going to be getting that, if it's shipped, it's probably sitting at my office where I haven't been in a week, and I'm guessing. I wasn't under the impression they're out just yet, but it sounds like they're. I saw a shipping notice, so usually they get there pretty quick. So
right.
either way, hopefully next week we'll be able to give that away.
Well, right now, all that matters. We're going to step aside from Mr. Schusterick and Georgia, and we're going to go with someone who used to share the same state with Will in Tennessee, but she's now native to Wisconsin. Coming in from our Disc Baron Digital Green Room, we're going to welcome Holly Finley. Hello, Holly.
Hello.
How you doing?
Fellow Wisconsinites.
Exactly.
Just like 60 miles up the road. Or so.
Yeah. I should have just come over. I don't know why you didn't invite me, Terry.
I don't know. I knew you were traveling. Weren't you in Iowa earlier today?
I was, yeah.
Okay, well, let's start there then. You weren't playing disc golf. What were you doing in Iowa?
I work as a fashion model in the Midwest when I'm home and not on tour for disc golf. So I had some photo shoots today in the Davenport area, which is coincidentally near one of my favorite wooded courses called C2.
Yes, absolutely. When you get over there, Chris Sprague neck of the woods, as I like to refer to it, some beautiful courses in that area. Also, the area that hosted AM Worlds just a couple years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes when I work there, I also just roll over to the course and, play some wooded golf for fun because it's just right down the street.
The things we have in common, right off the bat, we both like wooded golf.
Pretty much ends right there.
We both are doing photo shoots for Midwest fashion modeling. Mine might have a different call than yours, but yeah, I do some modeling in the Midwest myself. So
yeah, I was thinking like Duluth Trading Company for you.
Yeah, exactly. I got some flannel somewhere. I'll find some. All right. So, of course, we're seeing you out on the tour, but not full time. But kind of, but not full time.
I mean, I guess that's an opinion on what does full time mean. Is that like from the very first event to the very last event? I mean, I played 25 events from March until almost November, so I feel like that's pretty full time.
You're right. Okay, yeah, you're absolutely right. I should reclassify that. You're playing full time quantity of events, but you're not necessarily, we'll say stereotypically, in a van, going from event to event. You sometimes fly back and forth. You go out on little stints and stay, for extended periods of time, but you also come home every once in a while. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yeah, but that's because I live in Wisconsin, and I'm 4 hours from Ledgestone. I'm 2 hours from Camden 2, which has the A-tier rumble there. I'm just 4 hours from D-Glow. So I'm able to stay here and, spend a few days at home and then just drive up to the course. And a lot of these I've played so many times, I don't have to get there several days early. I'm going on my 5th, 6th year of attending the event. So I'm familiar with the course. The only thing I need to do is see any immediate changes.
And now you've kind of famously said that you prefer wooded golf. You're not a big fan of some of the openness that we find maybe at a Memorial or at the Vegas courses, for instance. You're much more of a wooded golf fan. Is that true?
Oh, 100%. I did play the beginning events, the Memorial in Vegas. I tried that out one year, and, they were really well ran. The people were great, but I just didn't have fun on the courses. I like shaping shots. I don't want to throw 18 hyzers in a row. So, I decided if I'm going to spend my money, I'm going to spend it somewhere that I really enjoy playing. So now I pick and choose the best events. Obviously the high tier events. And nowadays I feel like at least one round has something that's slightly wooded. So, maybe not the San Francisco Open, but it's still fun.
Do you feel like there's a region or a specific area of the country that you really find yourself itching to get to, or that you're really looking forward to? Any one area more than another?
Oh, for sure. The East Coast. Now, obviously, because it's so wooded, right? I'm talking the Green Mountain Championship, MVP Open, even D-Glow is fun. I feel like you're getting back into the woods. I mean, Toboggan isn't wooded, but I feel like I'm on my way there. The Hall of Fame Classic, all this stuff is so much fun, but also it's towards the end of the season. And as you know, being a Wisconsinite, I'm just playing winter golf with 18 layers and putting in my basement for 6 months, while everyone else is living in Arizona, just out here flinging it in normal clothes. So I show up at the beginning of the year and I feel really rusty, sure, I've been playing, but it's been -10 and I'm wearing 8 layers, literally. So is that actually training? I don't think so. I'm just out there for exercise and camaraderie at that point.
Well, and I think about also, I know Pittsburgh is another very wooded area, along with where I've seen you the last few years at Delaware. Those are as wooded as it gets. And like you saying, it seems as if maybe you're a little bit more at home, a little bit more comfortable, and maybe you have a little more gas in the tank at that time of year. Sarah Hokum kind of famously said she felt like it was around the Hall of Fame this year, like she was just hitting her stride. Do you feel like that's a comfort level? Or was that just, we'll say, a longevity? And did you feel any similar in that way?
Yeah, we actually had that conversation. We stayed at the same place for the Green Mountain Championship, and we were discussing that topic. And I told her I wish, the season didn't end, because my game really is the best around September, October, and then it's over. Unless I go down to Florida and play a bunch of A tiers, which aren't actually very wooded courses, that's really it, as far as championship level wooded golf goes. So, I wish there was just a year-long, extremely wooded tour. That's the one I would spend my time on.
Well, I guess I've been really blessed this last year more than ever with a lot of the international travel that I've been able to do and take in so many of these amazing places. Do you see yourself going international, and will that be completely dictated by just how wooded the courses are, or are there any events you're trying to hit that maybe are on your bucket list?
Yeah, that's actually a topic on the forefront of my mind. I renewed my passport a few weeks ago, so I'm hoping it comes in any day now. And I did that because I wanted to play the European Open next year. UC's been telling me about it for years. One year he gave me a wild card, but the ticket prices were more than the first place woman got the year before. And I'm such a business-minded person. I just couldn't pull the trigger on that. It seems so silly. So I think I need to be in the mindset that it's okay not to make $1 million going over there. It's kind of just a break even would be good enough. It's almost like a disc golf vacation, if you will. Because I looked at tickets actually 2 days ago, and wow, they're like $2,000 or more dollars. And I really did not think it was that much. So I'd like to do that. That's a great place to do brand building. I could not believe I saw a video with Eagle where he was giving the discs out of his bag, and then he gave away his bag. And there was just people swarming him, and they just loved him so much. And I said that is an amazing thing for him. He goes over there a lot. So obviously he's out there showing face. People know him. And of course, he's famous for his skills. But he does a lot of brand building for himself.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said, and I think that's one of the main opportunities for our players that are either trying to gain a name or just solidify their name, which is you go to some of these international events. It is probably a 2 or 3 week commitment, but work with the tournament director, whether that's UC or UHA or any of the tournament directors, to find out now where can you get integrated into a clinic and a demonstration, or a Q&A panel, all of those types of things. I think those are becoming so commonplace and almost expected that those are amazing opportunities. And I know that you enjoy teaching and providing clinics, so I think you'd be right on the top of that list as someone that would be able to fit in. And maybe that's a way to offset a few costs depending on how they structure it and what you're trying to do. That might be able to a way to offset, just a few of the costs while you're there.
Right, absolutely. I did play a major once, the Copenhagen Open in Denmark in 2013. So that was my first international major, and I did cash, so that felt kind of cool, But I think I only made maybe like $400, and the ticket was $1,250. So was it really that cool?
Well, and you and I know, we all know, when you're looking at disc golf, dare I say, especially from the women's side, and you're looking at it as straight dollars and cents, it's an incredibly challenging upward battle to even get as far as breaking even. That's something that very few women in our sport can do, and then, dare I say, come out ahead. That's even a tinier subset of women that can do that. Now, what are some of the things that you do? I know you're obviously you're doing your modeling and you're playing, but you've also in the last few years had an additional role. And how active are you in some of the other employment or work related things that you do?
For about 5 years, I worked at a private wealth management firm. So I was working towards getting a Series 766. I wanted to be a financial advisor. I did start working with a new company, but their moral compass was not in the same direction as mine. So I thought, I can't stay here. It's just not good for me. So I decided I wanted to disc golf full time. My kitty just came for a visit. I decided I was going to disc golf full time, or what I considered full time this year, Terry.
Okay, fair enough. Yep.
And, I just told the company, I appreciate the opportunity, but this isn't right for me, and I think I'm just going to go out on the road. So, I've always wanted to win worlds, and that's really been my main goal since I started playing disc golf. So every event is important, but I feel like at the end of the day, I'm always looking for that one win as my main goal in my disc golf list.
Well, I know you've worked really hard. I remember some very early conversations when you were just getting into the sport,
Yeah.
and you've clearly accelerated, and you've put in the time and effort, and you've spent a lot of money to travel, to then see new courses, to find what you liked and didn't like. I think about your journey and then your sponsorship as well, that I know you've also worked hard on. So here you are with Innova. You're going on your 7th year, is that correct?
Right.
7th year with Innova. Last year, I believe I saw you were promoted to the champion team, and
Mhm.
I've got to assume not only does that feel good, but you're also striving to move up to the next spot, right? Star team. What do you got to do?
Absolutely. Yeah. I want to be considered an elite level player. I think my rating is a little low for that. I'd like to get into the 940s at a minimum. But, in order to get on the star team, they do have a list of accomplishments that you must reach. And unfortunately, I haven't got there yet. One of them is winning a major, like Greg Barsby. He was on team champion when he won Worlds. So there are a lot of other things that they consider for promotion. So I'm hoping, I'm just going to do my best and try to win some events and see where it gets me. You get a lot more benefits the further you move up the team, which makes it easier to play disc golf. Don't have to model so much, perhaps.
Well, in this year, speaking of models, you've got your own disc as
Yeah.
a Tour Series model.
Roadrunner.
Yeah. What does that mean for you in terms of how people can support you, and what that means, when Innova has stepped up their sponsorship and is helping you out?
I just have to say it felt like a dream come true, probably a lot like when you get a signature series if you win Worlds. I just had this, I don't know, cloud nine feeling. I was so honored to be considered for that. It took so long to get it. I feel like I'm going to cry talking about it. Jeez. A Tour Series disc is going to make me cry. That's so silly.
No, it's not. You worked hard for it. That's understandable. You've worked really hard for it. It was a goal that you certainly had, and then it helps you, reach for your next goal. So, I mean, I can understand being excited and emotional about that.
Yeah. So, it took me 7 years to get to that point on the team. So it's just a really big honor to get that opportunity. You get to tell them what type of art you want. You can send in some muse art to give them an idea of the style you're looking for. You can choose your weight class and the type of disc you want. It was a really neat process. And then to see the finished product, they actually send you a box of them that you can keep and use yourself. So it's probably like the best feeling box I've ever opened in my life.
So for someone who somehow doesn't know, explain what it is, and will there be any changes for 2020?
Well, this year I chose the Star Roadrunner, which is the most common disc that I throw besides the Starlight Boss. The Star Roadrunner just goes extremely straight for me. And when I started playing disc golf, I asked someone, how can I be really, really good? And he was an amazing player. And he's actually a friend of Will Schusterick's, funny enough. His name's Justin Kreutzer. And he said, Holly, if you can throw it 350 feet in the middle and make 8 out of 10 putts in 30 feet, you can win a lot of things. And I thought, well, I've got to find a disc that I can throw straight 300 feet at least, and that's how I settled into the Roadrunner. And then as I got more power and I started playing with players like you, Terry, over at Valley View, and I saw like you were throwing these Annies, I remember telling you, oh man, Terry, I want to throw Annies like you one day. And the Roadrunner is perfect for that. So it's just amazing for shot shaping. It's amazing for finesse shots, standstill ups. And I thought this is a perfect disc to represent me. I wanted to choose a disc that sells well, which obviously would be a Destroyer or a Firebird. But I also wanted it to be authentic, something that I'm actually throwing every time I play. And I can actually recommend it and like be 100% behind that.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. I think some people will get caught up in thinking about just the dollars and cents, or maybe we'll say a different avenue or picture for when they're trying to align themselves with a signature or Tour Series disc or whatever. But if you're out there throwing it and you're seen on video throwing it and you're actively using it and recommending it to people, obviously it just feels so much more genuine when then your name is on it. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So, I've thought about what I'm going to do next year. And this year I did choose the same model as Greg Barsby. So, a lot of people tell me like, I don't have budget, Holly, for buying 4 Roadrunners. And unfortunately, Greg's came out first. But I still think you're cool. I'm just not going to buy your disc because I don't have it like that. So I thought, maybe I shouldn't choose the same one as someone else. I might need to, I don't know, be a little more unique with my choice, something that's still popular, but not something that someone else has that obviously everyone wants, like the world champion. It's just a really big competition,
Yeah, and I was just going to say, that's got to be tough because...
Are you going to go pick a Holly Finley, or are you going to go pick the world champion? I'd probably pick the world champion. Come on. So I might choose something that isn't the world champion's choice next year, just to see if, it could sell a little better.
Well, do you tend to throw mostly like a 160, 170 weight, or do you ever dip it down into the 150s?
Yeah, when I first started, I was exclusively like 145 to like 155 max. But now I think my lowest is just 150. I have like an Eagle as a utility disc. But I'd say 158 to 166 is my common range.
Okay. Because I think Terry and I had spoken about this, maybe it was off the air, I can't remember, about having a particular beginner or women's style of sponsored disc, having it something that fits better for what they tend to throw.
Right. Innova does allow you to choose the weight class. So I told them I wanted to choose the 160 to 165. And the sales guy said, Holly, that is not a popular weight, and I wouldn't recommend it because it just doesn't sell that well. And I thought, well, to be authentic, that is actually what I throw, the 163 Roadrunner. But I took his advice and I just went up one more set to 165 to 69, which is still light. But as a beginner, it isn't that light. And I know because, I would order things online. I would choose 150 and then they would mail me like 164. And I'm thinking, this is so heavy when you are throwing 145s and 150s. But, it's a pretty neat thing. You can only choose one weight class, but later in the year, I think Innova found some extra inventory and they threw out some lower weights for like Madison Walker. A few of hers came out in the same weight class as mine, like 65 to 69. And I think Jessica Weiss had some lower weight AVRs available. So it's not a normalcy. I think it was just like a special one-off or something.
Now, one of the big conversation, there's been a lot of conversation, of course, we've seen some sponsorship changes. Our current and 5-time women's world champ, of course, moving from Dynamic Disc to Discraft. She's making moves as Paul kind of hashtag last year, but you've been very active in promoting the women's game and trying to encourage women to play. What do you think we need to see more of from a women's disc golf perspective on any level? That doesn't have to just be sponsorship or it could be tournament related or whatever it is. What are some of the key points that you would love to see either addressed or tackled or conquered in promoting women's disc golf?
I think that the manufacturers could share a little more airtime with the female faces. For example, if you scroll on people's pages, it's like men, juniors. Where are the women? Okay. I'll see Ultiworld put out 10 articles about men and then one about women, and the paragraph is half as short, half as long as the article about the men. So, people say they want to promote the women more, but the people who have the power to promote us aren't promoting us as much as the men. And then we have the chicken before the egg argument. Why would we promote you when you don't bring in the people? And then I say, well, how do you know we won't bring in the people when you have never actually promoted us before? So until you give us full on equivalent promotion of the men, same marketing dollars, same face time, we'll never truly know if we can bring in the same dollars because it hasn't happened yet. So it's just kind of like, who's going to go first? I think Dynamic did an amazing job of making Paige almost the face of the company. It's the first time I've ever really seen a manufacturer go full force with a woman being like the face. When you think of Dynamic Discs, I thought of Paige Pierce. It actually takes me a second to think of who else is even on the team. Oh, Paige Birkus, obviously. But, and again, them. So that's the second one that comes to mind. They did so well promoting her, too. She had the full hair image. So I just think it's amazing. They really went hard with that. And I mean, I don't know if their sales were successful, but I feel like their marketing was successful. I'm remembering it. It was impactful. It was positive. And I hope it led to a lot of sales.
Yeah, which is interesting you say that. And again, I'm not here to start any fights, but interesting you say all of that. And yet Paige, one of the reasons she felt like she was ready to possibly move on, she said she wasn't sure that she felt like it was enough. And so maybe Discraft is ready to step up to that challenge, to do more with promotion. We saw them make the big move with acquiring Valerie Jenkins a few years ago because Valerie didn't feel that she maybe necessarily got what she needed in terms of promotion at Innova. So, it's everyone seems to be kind of shifting around, and I think we're all trying to find what's comfortable for them. But clearly, it's a volatile situation, in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I mean, I guess everybody has their own reality, but from the outside, being another woman, seeing how much each company promotes women, I really pay attention to that sort of stuff. I think Dynamic was probably at the forefront for promoting women. They did an amazing job with Paige Pierce. Is impressive. Prodigy stepped up in the last couple of years, putting Kat's silhouette on the side of their main travel van, which I thought was amazing. I think Innova's had like a silhouette of Cunningham on some of their trailers near the PDGA, or maybe it is the PDGA for a while. But I'm talking about like a main marketing. You think Innova, you think Paul, you think Innova now, you think Ricky, but it's always been like a few faces of each company. That's just how it works. And I think Paige, both of the Pages were the main faces of Dynamic Discs. So, I'm really proud that they did that for women's disc golf. It made us all feel important. Like, wow, they're promoting her so strongly. It was really cool. I think a lot of other people could do that as well.
I think you're exactly right that we're going to see that become more prevalent, and I'm excited for it. I think there's a lot of opportunities with all of our manufacturers. This isn't to single out any one, but this is, you listed some great examples, and I think we're going to see more of them kind of follow suit. Now, I'll follow up with all of that conversation. Ulta World just today announced, and maybe this is up your alley, maybe it's not, but Ulta World announced they're looking for a few new writers, and specifically one of them to focus in and to feature and to be kind of I don't want to say an FPO correspondent, to be a women's disc golf writer and correspondent of sorts. That's a pretty solid move, wouldn't you say?
Huh,
Could you be that person?
That. I like that.
Could you do that?
Is cool. That is something I would do, but I'm on the PDGA Rules Committee and also the Pro Touring Players Committee, and that could be a lot of emails. So I don't like to spread myself too thin. I'm really a person that one of my biggest weaknesses is overcommitting, which I also thought was a strength, which in the end is not, because you're not actually accomplishing anything because you're just doing 10% here and there at all the different things you committed to. So yeah, that would be really cool. I just don't know if I could swing it, I think that's amazing, though. I didn't know that. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it was just today. They announced it a little bit earlier. I know Jamie Thomas and Ultra World put it out on Facebook. They're looking for, I think, an instructional writer, someone else to we'll say lead a column of sorts, and then specifically they mention a female writer and they clarified. They said it doesn't just have to be on the FPO sides. It will be on just women's disc golf, growing women's disc golf. So it doesn't just have to be just the FPO division, but women in general.
And I know Ultra World comes from an ultimate background, which traditionally has been a more equitable between the men and the women, particularly than disc golf has been up until recently. So I think that's where Charlie, I think that's where he's coming from when he's trying to maybe help push the sport along a little bit. So
sure,
props to them.
For sure.
I like that.
So now you mentioned a little while ago about wintertime, Wisconsin. You're over in the Madison, Wisconsin area.
Yes.
I saw Madison also just posting today about getting the Winter League up and running again.
Right.
Will you be, trying to do things like the Winter Leagues, or will you at all venture to anywhere else? I know you have ties to Tennessee still. Will you, with the weather that's upon us, what will your off season kind of look like?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this, but in Madison, they pull all the baskets out around November or December because we have really bad erosion problems. So we had nowhere to play for like the first 7-8 years I lived here. I would have to drive to Rockford or Dretska or Brown Deer or somewhere at least an hour away to play disc golf, which might not sound like a lot, but when you want to play every day, it is. And a couple years ago, I think too, the city put in an 18-hole course, which was our winter course at an old ball golf course. It's called Yohara. And I actually started the Winter League there. I held it every Saturday and Tuesday for a year. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, sometimes I do play the Winter Leagues. I'm not actually hosting that Winter League anymore. But I enjoy playing the Winter Leagues. We used to have a putting league here that Mike Batka ran. That was a lot of fun. So if he does that again, I'll probably show up every Wednesday night.
It's happening. I saw the post today. That's what made me think of it.
Great. I was working, so I haven't had a chance to do my, usual hour of scrolling to catch up on the disc golf.
I do have to ask though, real quick. It said they're playing JLYL rules or something like that. Does that ring a bell? What?
Yeah,
am I reading that right?
Some game that was developed in Europe. I want to say Sweden. I'm probably wrong. But there's an app you can download on your phone, and it sort of keeps score. It's 20 rounds of 5 putts. So you start at, I think, I'm not really sure where you start. I just go in and help Mike put the tape on the floor and then try to do my best. But I guess it could be a lot like that Perfect Putt app. I keep seeing screenshots of that where you have your distance and you measure like 5 from this distance, 5 from this distance. That's kind of how the app is. And then you get points afterwards, tally them up, and win cash at the end of the season.
Okay. I saw the post today, and it just kind of led me to think about that's, I know people in the South, like, those are the real problems we have to deal with. Like Holly mentioned, there's a lot of courses. We have nearly 400 courses in the state of Wisconsin. We're, one of the, top 5 or top 10 in quantity, but a lot of courses pull the baskets out, like she said, for erosion control and other winter activities. A lot of our courses may be on
sledding hills.
Yeah, sledding hill, or have a snowmobile trail, or
cross-country skiing. Yeah,
exactly. So to have so many courses and then not have them available, and really it's also just as much about the spring thaw. Everybody gets excited during that first 42-degree day in February or March, and then goes out and then potentially trashes the course, and that be kind of, that's March through April. And so as crazy as it sounds, that's when we don't have disc golf in Wisconsin commonly. So we got to keep ourselves busy in the winter, and putting leagues have definitely become a very commonplace, not just around the country, but especially in places where it's cold. Now, also, I know you're in the area. One of the cool things I saw in the news that made the actual news. Speaking of Glide and Mike back over there, big shout out. He had a birthday, but they're raising money for charity. Are you aware of some of the fundraiser effort that he just did with maybe selling used discs that's going to a homeless shelter? Like almost $3,000 has been raised. Does that sound right?
That's kind of been like an ongoing thing. He's been asking for used discs since I feel like the beginning of fall. I wasn't aware he was donating the money to anyone, though, so that's pretty cool. He also runs a doubles event at that winter course I told you about earlier, Yahara, and he donates the money from the used disc sales there as well. So, yeah, Mike does a lot for the community. We're really blessed to have him here. And he's on the, Team Innova as an ambassador, so that makes me like him even more.
Wow, I guess if we want to know how people get in Holly's good graces. So 2020, more than 25 events, less than, more on the road, off the road. What's your plan?
Yeah, that's probably gonna depend on what level of the team I get to. Right now, I'm cool with 25 events. If I, do something extraordinary and get a promotion, I might try to play up to 40 events. It just really depends. I haven't really put my schedule together yet. I'm not sure if I want to try out those events I've been skipping for so many years, like the Memorial or Vegas. I actually signed up for GBO, which I haven't played since 2012 when I won the intermediate division. So
okay.
It could be time to go back. I'm entertaining the idea.
I mean, there's two pieces to that. One, or three. One, it's an enormous event, very well ran with a lot of great people.
Exactly.
Two, it will have one of the largest FPO fields of the year, and they treat FPO very well there, like exceptionally well. But then three would be the one counterpoint to the previous two is, there's not a lot of trees there, right, Holly? Like, not a lot. There's a few.
Depends on the course.
But not a lot.
I think they still play the Jones East and West, don't they? Or is it the ball golf course now?
I think you'll probably play all 3 rounds at the country club.
No,
Isn't that what they did last year?
Well, remember, this year they're playing Jones Gold.
Oh,
so
yeah,
there won't be a
Jones
Jones
Gold.
East and West, more than likely. My guess is that FPO will probably be on Jones Gold at least 2 of the rounds.
I bet you it's on the internets.
Oh, yeah, we could look, but that would be too easy.
Yeah, I like to speculate.
But I love your courage in thinking, well, I'm going to go back and try something, even if it's not necessarily, what you consider your bread and butter.
Right, because, I played Sunset Hills at the Ledgestone, and I hated it. I said, Nate, why are you making me play Sunset Hills twice? I shot 1,000 rated round at your super wooded course, Megiddo. Why did you remove that from the lineup? I don't care that everyone else hated it. Please put it back in there because that's what I want.
That's what Holly wants. Damn it.
No, Holly, we're going to play Sunset 3 times this year. And oh, man. So I decided, if Worlds is going to be here, I'm going to have to fall in love with Sunset Hills. And that's what I did. I drove down there long before the tournament, rented a cart, played it a couple times, realized how I could birdie the holes, because they have a lot of women's tees out there now. And once you start birdieing, I was up to like 10 plus birdies on the course. And then, how could you not fall in love with it? Like, oh my God, I've got 6 birdies in a row, So I really love Sunset Hills now. Even sometimes more than I thought I ever could, because every time I go there, I get birdies I didn't know I could get. I'm throwing my putter over the water shots when before I'd be like, I need a Starlight Boss to make it over the water. And now I'm like, oh, stand still putter. So as your game progresses, it becomes more fun when you get better. It really does.
Wow. If there's a pro tip in there somewhere.
Get better?
Yeah. Get better, folks. You'll enjoy disc golf more. Well, let's follow that up with maybe a legit pro tip of yours. If you had one for someone, you've relatively quickly come through the ranks in the 6 or 7 years that you've been involved with golf. You've played a lot of courses, experienced a lot of events, but Where in there would you say is maybe the most crucial thing that you've learned for yourself in your game?
I think for me was having someone like Barrett White tell me to just jump in and play open. Don't be scared. She offered to pay the difference in my entry fee. I told her, oh my gosh, Barrett, I'm a businesswoman. I can't waste money. And she said, you know what, Holly, I'll just pay the difference. Here's the cash. Come up and play with me. I was nervous. Gosh, I was so nervous. But, once you get into it and you realize you can make the shots under pressure and you can play in the open field, you kind of impress yourself. And then maybe you want to do it again. So just, be brave. Just go out there and try it. Sign up for a national tour event. Sign up for an A tier in the open women's field. If you're in advanced, a lot of people just, I don't know why, but they just never move up. I don't know if they think they don't deserve to, or they're not good enough to, or they're never going to play up to, like 975 women's golf. But we have a lot of that in Wisconsin. Our amateur fields are very full. And Terry, you know that from your tournaments, man, they were packed. But the open field, you have a few girls that might move up so they can play together, but talking about a girl that actually wants to play open all the time, it was like me and Barrett White, maybe like a Sonia or something. But I think my advice would be just try it out. Don't be intimidated by the pro women. Just come up, say hello. We're all very friendly. We might seem like scary because we have a game face on, but walk up and say hi. We're happy to play with you. We want to. We want to help you learn and get better. So playing alongside of us is really the best way to do that. That's how I learned, was just throwing myself right into the open field my second year of golf. And luckily I would, get paired maybe with Sarah Hokum or someone the first round. And you can learn so much when you're right there watching the shots, everything, how they approach it, their mental game and their actual throwing game. So come up and play with us. That's my advice.
Okay. No, I can see what you're saying there. Now, you've also been more active, not just on social media, but also I have to send you a thank you for all of the work you've done in commentating on videos that I've put together and other teams have put together. Is that something that you want to do more of? Do you feel like that helps you learn the game better, or helps you cement your game plan better, or what is some of the reasoning for being involved on we'll say a commentary and media side?
Well, Terry, I just love to talk, so that's number one. I think commentary is really fun. I've been doing it since I was a kid, basically on everything. I just sit at a bench, waiting to take a table at a restaurant, and I'm commentating on people walking by. I'm sure that you probably do the same thing. A lot of people do. But what you say in that scenario isn't exactly what you would say commentating for golf. But I feel like I've always sort of had a love for that. So I would absolutely enjoy doing more of it. I like to listen to myself. Sometimes I sound really horrible. Sometimes I can't even make it through the entire round of myself. I just say, oh, you're so obnoxious, I turn it off. Or why did I say definitely 22 times? I start counting up words that I overuse. So, I'm always looking to improve. I think it's fun to bring a little bit more personality to it. I try to be really proper the first time and but I think people want to hear the things that I would say normally on the course, like, oh, you got twiggled, oh, you skittled up to the basket, instead of the disc moves slowly towards the basket, just be more realistic. I think people would appreciate that more. So
keeping it real is, I think, a famous.
Be authentic, keeping it real, however you want to word that.
It's been fun as we're seeing more and more, not just FPO coverage, but then all of the personalities that are coming out as a result of that. And huge props to the Disc Golf Pro Tour a couple of years ago when we were splicing in the FPO, and then having an FPO player who just got off the course quickly grab a lunch, barely have time for that, and then sit down and then commentate on some of the shots that were just, that were just being shown, or just happened, I should say, previously to that. It's been a really great learning experience, and I think from a media perspective, and like you just said, we're getting all this personality that we maybe otherwise would miss out on.
Exactly. And, I think a lot of times that is what brings fans closer to you. They see you not just as like a face or a figure on the course going through the motions. They can connect to you on a different level. They realize you like the same things, or they think your personality is hilarious. I've had a lot of people tell me, Holly, I was really scared to talk to you. I saw you for 2 years before I said hi. And now that I'm talking to you, you are so funny. It's not at all what I expected. I don't know why I thought you'd be so serious, and you're just like cracking me up the whole time. So, I think it is fun that we get to see the personalities. I've had a lot of fun doing commentary with Sarah Hokum on some of your stuff this year. And I really love this thing you're doing with your videos lately, where you're showing like the clips of us, hanging out in between the holes. And that is just a really special touch. So thanks for putting that together.
Yeah, it's again, that goes to exactly what you're saying. It's a little additional insight to what really is happening on the course, and we may see somebody miss a shot or make a great shot and their reactions to that, but also to know that, you guys are discussing what your favorite granola bar is, on the backup on hole 7. And somebody's going to be like, oh, I hate those granola bars. Well, I love those granola bars. And the next thing you know, somebody's going to say, well, I work at that company, and we could get that person sponsored by those granola bars. So anything could happen.
Hey, we've all got a dream.
Exactly. So, so we've got your game plan for next year. You're hoping to also, like you said, maybe have that either magical event or a series of events that potentially promotes you to even the next level up. That's the star team. When you're looking at your teammates on the star team, well, not just the star team, sorry, at Innova, what are some of the takeaways when you think about the women that you share, that Innova branding with? I mean, you mentioned Jessica Weiss a little bit earlier, but yet, of course, Sarah Hokum, who's from MVP, or Barrett White, who used to be with Discraft. You have those relationships that can spread across any given brand, but talk about your Innova teammates a little bit, and do you confide in them? Do you work with them? What's your relationship?
We have a lot of really lovely women on the team. As far as the star team goes, is Jessica Weiss, Madison Walker, and Lisa Fakis. So whenever you end up on a card and you walk up and you see the names on your card and you see it's people on your team, it's like you're already in this level of comfort. It's almost like a boosted level of confidence. They're going to be happy for your good shots. You're familiar with them. Their pace of play. You're not overthinking it. It's like you can just jump right into the groove. All of those ladies are really great professionals on the course. So I'm excited to play with any of them. And a lot of the girls who aren't on Team Star, the champion and crew level girls like Kona and Callie is a new addition. And even Hannah Macbeth, like she is so fun and so positive to play with. And, it really makes a difference in your disc golf game when others are feeling sincere joy when you make a good shot or a long putt. They're low-fiving you. You're amping each other up. It really does help propel everyone on the card forward and up. So I really look forward to the teammate rounds. And looking back at my Instagram, I noticed that when I do take photos of the cards, it's usually like, oh my gosh, it's an all Innova card. Let's get a photo, So
you use that voice?
Probably, yeah. Yeah.
And another road warrior, Ellen Widboom. I mean,
oh my gosh, is she not? Her quantity of events this year is mind-blowing. I think she's over 40 and she still has more to play. Yeah, I'm thinking she might make it close to 50. She's top in the FPO field. I already did the search. I look at this stuff like every 2 weeks because I love stats. So Ellen is far beyond anyone. Nobody's going to play more events than Ellen Woodboom this year. Yeah, she actually, when she was on like the Innova sponsored 50 or 25, which is below the crew, and she did so well on that level of the team that Innova skipped her a level. She actually skipped a grade and went straight to champion. So I was really impressed with her. I called her up. I said, Ellen, I know this isn't a big deal to you, but you need to know how impressive this is. I spent 7 years on the crew and you just skipped right over it. So good job for you, girl. I'm so impressed, because, and to her, like, she's not looking at that kind of stuff. She's just out there playing because she loves it, like she has a different mindset for it.
Well, a little of that military background, some great, I don't want to say strict upbringing, but some very structured upbringing, and then to have such an amazing personality to then go on top of like this burst of energy. Yeah, she's on it for all of it. It's incredible.
So that's another person I really look forward to playing with. Always upbeat and just very professional on the course, but still laid back at the same time.
What would you say, as we start to kind of wind things down here for you, what would you say is a misconception that's out there, if any? Maybe there's a slew of them, maybe there's one, maybe there's none. But is there anything that either you hear or see or is just flat out inaccurate that is out there in the disc golf world for you? Anything?
You mean personally or disc golf?
Both. One of each. We'll start with personally.
Yes, actually, I have a lot of people tell me after the fact that, hey, Holly, I walked by and tried to talk to you, and all you did was snarl at me. And I said, well, I don't, usually it's in a Facebook message or on a post. Somebody says, oh, Holly Finley is such a nice player. And then someone says, well, here's my Holly Finley experience. So I immediately try to find out, well, where did we meet? Did you come up and talk to me? Did I shake your hand? Did you actually tell me your name? Because I don't ever remember seeing you. I remember being there. I don't recall any of this scenario. So I think a lot of times what happens is people will walk by, and I call it the drive-by hello. They walk by and they say, hey, Holly, but they don't actually make eye contact or stop. They continue walking. And then I guess because I don't say, hey, hi, or stop them, I don't know what I'm supposed to do because I found this scenario very odd. Mm-hmm. They think that I'm just like a rude, stuck-up person, like cold, not friendly. And that's not me at all. If anyone's talked to me, I'm just going to talk your ear off about anything that I love to talk about, maybe anything you love to talk about, and then we can go throw some discs together. So,
yeah, you do.
I just think that a lot of people might assume I'm not friendly, or I just have like the RBF, if you know what that stands for. I think that's a misconception. I don't really see myself as snobby or unfriendly at all. I recently had someone tell me that they saw me at Subway and they tried to say hi, and I just ignored them. And then the wife said, good luck on the next round. And all I did was this. And I thought, well, why would anyone behave that way? I don't ever act that way to anybody. So I don't understand how these scenarios come together and I don't remember them. So I feel like, everyone has their own reality, and maybe they didn't get the interaction they were hoping for, or as much personal time, or maybe who knows what was happening. I was in the middle of something and I just sounded short and I hurt them. They were trying to engage and I sounded short and not interested. But I am very interested in meeting everyone. I love to talk to people. I love to have some little gifts I give away to kids that I meet on the course who come up and ask for autographs. So that's like my favorite thing to do. I love it when the little girls come up and they're like, Holly, can you sign my disc? I give them one of my little Holly Finley pins, and the girls think that is so cute. So I think that's a misconception about me, but that's like old news, Terry. I've been hearing that story for years.
No, it does though. It rings true, and I
think you hear that for almost every player. Like, there's always someone that says, Paul Macbeth was the nicest guy to me. The very next post is, that guy wouldn't give me the time of day.
Yeah, and it's like, well, was he practice putting?
What exactly?
Did you address him?
Everybody,
when he was going from one hole to the next in the middle of a final round.
I think a lot of people, especially the pros, have these exact same issues.
Yeah.
In that everybody has, like Holly said, everybody has their own reality. Your perspective of the situation was probably a 180 from what mine was. So, I tend to take a lot of those interactions that I see on Facebook with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and I totally understand what you're saying. It can be really tough. All right, so then how about in terms of disc golf? Do you feel like there's any glaring just something that's way off from either where we are or where we're going, or what things used to be, or just anything in terms of disc golf that you think like somebody's just got dead wrong? What might that be?
I think I could circle back to what we said earlier, where the belief is that the marketing power is in the men, when in fact we don't know that because we've never been promoted to the full power that the men have been promoted. So until someone puts us in the limelight, and I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about female players, the best, the girls that are out there winning the worlds, winning the national tours, being the faces of the company. So when I think of a company, I want to think of a female and a male, and that right now that's not happening. So I would like that to be sort of a common thought in people's minds. When they think of Innova, they think of it may be several females. It doesn't have to be necessarily one. It could just be, a blanket marketing overall as far as the female team goes. So it would be nice if just having the girls more in the forefront, we still kind of feel like a shadow as far as that goes. It's gotten so much better since I started, so I don't want anyone to think that I'm not grateful for what people are doing for us. I am, and it has gotten so much better, but obviously we want it to get even better.
Well, I think that's a fair statement to say that it has gotten better, and whether it's media coverage and it's a lot of other efforts and signature series discs and banners and billboards, and a lot of those things have gotten better, but that doesn't mean there's not an end goal. It is we're constantly trying to push that all forward and to raise the levels, and there is no end in sight. It should be something that we're always striving to improve upon. So I fully agree with what you're saying there.
Yeah. So I just thought I'd let you know my laptop battery is down to 7%.
Okay.
Oh, you are so difficult and high maintenance and all these. All right. Well, we'll start to wrap it up. As if we haven't already, but we want to give you your shot. So give us your primary sponsors and supporters, shout outs, people or companies that you need to thank or recognize.
And how our viewers can support you if they want.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. My main sponsor is Innova Disc Golf. And as I mentioned earlier, the Tour Series Roadrunner is available on the Innova Factory store online. I have more colors than any other player, so that's kind of cool. You can go out there and pick your favorite color. 165 to 169 grams. I think they're about $17 or $18. So, if you want to get a Holly Feeling Roadrunner, I'd love to sign it if I ever see you in person. It's really a high honor for me. So thank you for that. Also, Grip Bags. I've been with them for several years. Their product is amazing. It's long lasting. I've loved it the whole time I've used it. So I'd like to thank them for their support as well.
All right. Just don't ask Holly to sign your disc when she's at Subway. Then there's
Unless, of course, you want this space.
All right, Holly. Thank you so much for joining us. We're glad we could get caught up. Next time, you will just have to come right over to the studio where all the fun is, and you could join us instead. But when I saw the post for the Wednesday Night Putting League in Madison, I thought that is a perfect excuse just to get over to Madison and hang out with some of great Madison crowd. And so at some point, I'll definitely have to make it a point. Maybe Johnny V and I will drive over there and visit everyone and get in on one of those putting league nights because it looks like fun. All right. Well, we're looking forward to seeing you probably either at one of those or out on one of the courses here during one of the winter rounds. And if not, I'm sure we'll find you in some warm weather somewhere on a wooded course. Sound like a plan?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. It was fun chatting.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for everything you're doing for women's disc golf from a commentary and just
100%.
Overall promotion standpoint. We appreciate it. Have a good night, Holly.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Good night. Had to get before her PC hit like 2 or 3% or just shuts down on us. But
well,
great to
of
have
course,
Holly on.
thank you so much to Holly Finley, and big shout out to Holly as well. It was I was thinking about reaching out to her a day or two ago, and then it was really today that I was able to get in touch with her. So on a somewhat of a short notice, just also very gracious of her to be able to join us. And I should put that point out there in general. As Johnny alluded to earlier, we aren't always the greatest at at locking in people, plans, questions, any details really. That's not our strong suit. So when I do reach out to any one of our guests, and more often than not, it's either on Monday or Tuesday, and then they join us usually on that Tuesday night on a typical week. I don't say it enough. We are very thankful that these people make themselves available to us. Sometimes we plan a few days out, but usually not. So thank you to all of our guests who always are so kind and gracious with their time. And you guys, look at everyone joining in tonight. Thank you guys again with the postponed podcast moving into tonight. So looks like we had a great group. Apparently there's some other little podcast thingy that was going on. And
I believe Foundation Disc Golf.
That's cute.
They have
those guys.
You know, we stepped on their night. Unfortunately, we had to push our Tuesday night back. Yeah. So I just should tell people, just don't do any podcasts on Tuesday or Wednesday, just in case we step one. I'm just,
Yeah, we should just stake claim. Yeah. That sounds like the
this is a solid thing for us to do.
Yeah,
or just run it by us before,
But I will follow up quickly and throw it out here maybe yet again. Do we have a plan in the next few weeks? Again, New Year's and Christmas Eve both fall on Tuesday nights. Do you and I want to tentatively set to a plan that we could actually announce here and now about that? Any thoughts? Does it make sense to do?
It would make more sense to do a Monday night as opposed to a Wednesday because Chris, let's not do it on Christmas Eve. Let's do it on Christmas or New Year's Eve. I mean, New Year's Day actually wouldn't be bad, but
dude, I'm gonna be so hungover.
No, you're not. Which is funny because I have coming just back from Florida. I have probably another acquisition in Florida on New Year's Eve, or possibly in Minnesota.
Wow, we sound like some great choices. Florida on New Year's Eve or or Minnesota.
So there being two of us in the department, and me being the manager, I kind of get what I want, but I do like to keep my employees happy. So I promised my employee that the next Florida acquisition would be his. He could go down and take care of it, and unfortunately, we have a new office opening in Minnesota, Hastings, I believe, on January 1st. So one of us has to go to Hastings, and one of us has to go to Florida. So I might be stuck going to the Hastings one while he goes to Florida. But yeah, we have there's lots of time to get this figured out.
Well, not really. It's just like 2 weeks away. So
we'll get it. I mean, we'll
maybe
it out.
Tentatively plan on Monday nights. Let's just throw that out there.
Step all
then.
over disc golf comedy.
That guy. No, I'm kidding, of course. But tentatively, roughly, possibly, think about planning on Monday the 23rd and then Monday the 30th.
Oh, I was going to say for New Year's, I could see doing it New Year's night.
I don't want to be around you.
That's fine. It's not like New Year's Eve. It's New Year's. No, nobody does anything on New Year's.
We'll play it by ear. All right. The one question I didn't ask Holly.
Oh.
And I already knew the answer, I think, so maybe it wasn't really worth asking, is just how many times, and this could obviously be asked of every single one of our professional or amateur females is how many creepy dirtball messages a day do you get? Is that in the dozens? And could you guys please stop it? Right?
Probably.
I guess that would be the long and short of that conversation.
Yeah.
Just please stop doing it. She occasionally shares some of those with me.
Mm-hmm.
It's really discouraging. It's really, really sad. So don't be that guy or set of guys, old or young. Don't be that guy. There's enough other bigger problems in the world.
Some other news that I saw break on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Barrett White, local female pro around here, who Holly had mentioned, has been, I believe, with Discraft for close to 15 years, is no longer going to be sponsored by Discraft. She made a post today saying that they were stepping apart, so to speak. They were not going to be.
That was her eloquent way of putting it. She said stepping apart.
They're stepping apart.
No.
Ultimately, she didn't give any answer as to where she was going, I believe. It was just that, I mean, Terry probably knows, but of course he does.
Of course I do.
But
yes,
she is not going to be sponsored by Discraft. So that is one of their longtime players, and a female nonetheless, that is stepping away from Discraft.
Yeah, and as she made in her post, I'll start with that. Yeah. She made in her post saying that she was parting ways with Discraft. Is, of course, a very difficult decision. She's been with them and known them for quite some time. And for those who may not know, Barrett also has a very long history in the sport of Ultimate. And her energy level certainly matches just that. She, in fact, is coming up to Wisconsin. She lives in Illinois. She's coming up to Wisconsin to play in a Winter Ultimate event this year that's been going on for decades, a Toys for Tots Ultimate event of sorts this weekend, where a ton of money and gifts are raised for children, and that's something that they're very passionate about, that they've done for many years. So her main background has always been Ultimate. You can certainly see it within both her forehand and backhand throws, and so she's had a tie as Discraft has so much, led the Ultimate scene for decades now, and she has won 2 world titles in disc golf, throwing Discraft, of course. So she did say that she's, like you said, she's stepping away. They're parting ways, and that kind of segues into this weekend, where I'll quickly recap off the top of my head. She also won this weekend, and now here's what's the interesting part about her winning this weekend. She had signed up for the C tier that I was hosting, the Cold Turkey 14, presented by RPM Discs out of New Zealand. And she signed up for the event, and she was the sole woman to sign up for it. Registration continued to dwindle in terms of available spots, dwindled. Finally, it was completely full. She was literally the only woman. She signed up in FPO, as Holly alluded to earlier. She's actually eligible for Grandmaster Women, but she signed up in FPO, trying to attract some other professional females to play against. And then it was sold out with a waiting list. So she did reach out and she said, well, I've got one more player that would come from Ohio to play with me, but I said, I'm sorry, it's, there's even a waiting list, so there's not much we can do about that now. So then, just a few days before the event, she said, well, I'm not going to play in a division of my own. Go ahead and put me in the male Grandmasters 50 and older.
MP50.
The MP50 division. So I transferred her over to that, which I really had to double check that she's even old enough for it. But I transfer over to the MP50 division, and what do you know? She wins it.
She won.
So
yeah, I saw that. I looked at
it
the
was a
results.
small division. There were 2 other competitors that were playing against her, but she ends up taking down the MP50 division, which is just incredible and very awesome for her. So, and she very much did, of course, thank Discraft as she accepted her award at that event. And then a quick shout out to Tanner Helm. He came off of, came off the chase card to win the tournament. He ultimately had a great second round, the best second round, and that challenged David Heasley, and it went into a playoff, and when it was all set and done, the lefty Tanner Helm took it down in MPO. So congratulations. And then a couple other quick shout-outs along those lines. I want to thank Ryan Pilcher, who's a super smashy disc golf guy, supporter, just all-around amazing individual who brought his tent that we needed in a little bit of the rain in the morning. So Ryan, thank you so much for helping and being part of the event, as you always have been for the last few years. Sam Martinson, all the same things can be said of him. Thank you. Well, Sam, you didn't bring a tent, so you're not quite as nice, but you're still an awesome guy. And then my director of reception and hospitality,
Tom
McManus. Yeah, PDGA
the warmest guy on the course.
1276. Tom was also there, and a huge asset to the event. Something kind of cool, a really minor side note, but Tom McManus, his PDGA number 1276. Another gentleman that plays who's from Wisconsin was also there, similar divisions. Jake Jacobson or Randy Jacobson, PDGA number 2176. Yeah,
the first two numbers.
Yeah, pretty crazy. So, thank you to everyone played. Thank you so much to RPM, and thank you to Proactive Sport, who also helped with
the trophy
action, which turned out pretty good. Really nice insulated mugs that they make that then had laser etching on them for the divisions. Felt like those turned out really well. So thank you to those guys. And Miles over at Paragon, certainly a contributor to all of the success as well. So there you go. Good times. All right. Was there any other? There were other tournaments that went on. Nothing of super large scale. We kind of already touched on the Will Schusterick event that he participated in.
Yep,
but
the Belgian Turkey, won by Chris
it.
Dickerson. Second place, Seth Overbay. Third place, Logan Bowers. Fourth place, Brandon Brown, tied with one Will Schusterick. And looking at the Open Women, Macy Walker wins that one over Margaret Baudendistel. So congratulations to Macy Walker, $220. Yeah, we pretty much just have a couple B tiers, probably some larger B tiers and some C tiers. The out in North Carolina, the Craven Chains Classic. This one was won by Barry Schultz, the ageless wonder, shooting 31 under par. His round ratings were 1052, 1034, and 1029. So that guy, he's getting close to MP50. And he's dropping 1050 rated rounds.
Ain't no thing.
No doubt. What a amazing. Takes down Nathan Queen by 2 strokes over Mitch Dickens, Taylor Rafalski, and Dan Hastings. So congratulations to Barry. Don't ever change, buddy. Winning the Open Women, another ageless wonder, Elaine King. She wins by, I believe that's 19 strokes.
Just 19.
Over Paige Schultz and Victoria Griffiths. So congratulations to the 2 winners. And both of which could be playing in different divisions. Multiple different divisions in some cases.
Yes. And do I see that guy picked up another victory?
Yeah, he's just, racking up those victories left and right. Brian Schweberger in Pro Masters 40+. He shot a 27 under par with 1,002, 1,044, and 1,019.
And how far does that, assuming they played same layouts, how far does that put him off of the Open winner? He shot 27?
4 strokes.
Okay. So.
And it looked like it was all in that first round as he lost to Barry on that round by 4 strokes. And he shot 1 better than Barry on the second round and 1 worse than Barry on the third round. So,
okay.
3 4, something like that.
Yeah, that's how math works.
Yep.
All right. Very
Someday.
nice. Well, congratulations. Hopefully everybody had a good, safe turkey. One thing that I'll say as we wrap up the tournament scene from this weekend is it seems like the idea of Friday tournaments, Black Friday or whatever they're being called, that is becoming, of course, a very popular day for hosting tournaments. That wasn't the case, say, 10 years ago. You might have only had 1 or 2, and now they've become a lot more common. As I mentioned, Cold Turkey that I've been hosting or in charge of for the last 14 years has always been on that Saturday. but there is definitely a market to be playing on that Friday as well. And I think you're going to continue to see Black Friday as a shopping experience just go up and down year after year, and maybe even shift through generations. At some point, I think Black Friday is, I don't want to say it's going to fizzle, but it is definitely, I think, going to continue on the decline as we see more and more online activity where the madness of being at those stores on Black Friday, I think that's going to continue to wear off, and people are going to find other productive things to do on that day.
I hope so. But ultimately, these stores keep,
if they keep selling, they'll stay open. I know.
They're very close to taking losses on some of these items in order to get people in, hoping that you buy other items, which is why, true story, I was at Best Buy this past weekend. I had stopped there for just a piece of equipment. I'm standing at customer service. Some gentleman comes walking up, and this is probably a little more after show material, but he shows the customer service rep a flyer. He's like, "I'd like my price matched." And the guy's like, okay, well, no, we do price matching, this and that. And the guy's like, oh, yeah, this is a Black Friday ad. We don't price match Black Friday ads because they're limited quantities and they're usually whatever. And the guy's like, no, I want my price matched. And I'm sitting there, having been on the other side of that conversation, having been worked at customer service at Best Buy, not that particular one, but in that position, I started to get nervous, thinking like, oh, this isn't going to go well. I like this. And I sat and watched, and at one point the guy's like, I literally can't do it. Sorry, sir, it's against our policy. And the guy snatched the thing out of his hands and just stormed out of the store like he was mumbling something to the customer service guy as he walked away. And the customer service guy's just kind of like, but whatever. And gentleman was probably in his mid-50s that was all upset. And I just thought, it was probably $10.
Yeah,
it couldn't have been that much. Is it really worth it to get that upset over? It's a policy, and I get it, but I also don't.
All bets are off on that day. Well, other quick side notes and news here in the regular show. Team manager, who we've heard more and more about for the last few years, Bob Giulio over at Discraft, celebrates a birthday today.
54, I think I saw.
Yes, 54. Might have been 64. I think someone was being nice to him. 54 is maybe what, I don't know. It's either way. So happy birthday, Bob. We saw even Mr. Macbeth help on the assist of a less than flattering video of Bob golfing out there today. So I'm sure he's thinking, thanks, Paul. I think that's exactly how he said it too. So, but happy birthday to him today. And then other quick notes for disc golf news, and maybe we can elaborate a little more in the after show. I maybe start thinking about it, but this weekend is special. I don't want to say special is overstating it, but in Wisconsin, there is a group of now old men all getting together. It's the Wisconsin Disc Sports Association board, of which I'm very honored to be a member of. But we get together and we really talk about, I'll say, the state of disc golf, like figuratively, where the state of disc golf is here. We talk about policies, things that are happening, successes, failures, as this loosely put together organization that we are. And I guess what I want you to think about, maybe think about it for the after show and chime in, is, do you guys have something like that in your state? On a very, very, very micro level, you could almost say we're like a tiny mini PDGA. I mean, we certainly don't have that kind of authority, but just at a very local level, being in Wisconsin, we're 6 to 8 guys. Hopefully we expand into, being a little bit more diverse, but, we've been 6 to 8 guys or so that are helping to guide or shape or mold or provide a little insight. Barry Schultz used to sit on the board when he lived here in Wisconsin. And this was all as a result of the 1998 Amateur Worlds that was held in Wisconsin. And at that time, it took a very strong set of people to assemble to host an Am Worlds, as it still does today. And then after that Am Worlds, there was some momentum that said, hey, let's keep doing some things here in the state. And So I would love to know what other states have, and do you know those people? Do you have influence? Do you sit on one of those boards? Those are, just some of the things I want you guys to think about that maybe we could address in the after show. But we have a meeting this Saturday. PDGA Hall of Famer Duster Don Hoffman, who's in the Hall of Fame, PDGA 1455. We host. It gets hosted at his house, and it's just a really good, enlightening. It's a great way to charge some batteries too, and to get excited about the next year. So something to think about. Maybe it happens in your state, and if it doesn't, maybe
think about starting something like that up.
Yeah.
Look at who starts and runs your local tour.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some of the TDs for that, and try to get something in your off season organized if that's not already happening.
Yeah, I mean, and think about your course. Who are your main course designers? Who are your movers and shakers? Who are some of the public outlets? Do you have 1 or 2 or 4 people in the state that are always kind of putting up a public face or front to newspapers or organizations? Is there a sponsorship coordinator within your state? Those are all types of people you're looking for to possibly be involved in this kind of crew. So something to think about. All right, that's about all I have for other significant notes. The rest of the stuff can be in the after show. We're going to wrap it up. We want to thank you guys for joining us. Timestamp this officially 11:11 Central Time. We want to thank Johnny V and I, Will Schusterick of Ace Line Discs, I don't want to say division of Prodigy. I don't know what the word is yet. We'll figure that one out.
Division seems like a nice
piece of Prodigy's action. We want to thank Will for joining us. Long overdue to have him, so thank you so much, Will. And, of course, we want to thank Wisconsin's own Holly Finley of Team Champion over at Innova Champion Disc. Thank you for joining us as well, Holly. Stick around. We're going to have the after show. We'll see how rowdy things get. We always talk about disc golf and non-disc golf related material and action. Look forward to seeing you then. We'll see you soon when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Smashbox TV Podcast 276 After Show. Nailed it. Hello, everyone, and good evening as we're coming to you on a Wednesday night. Just throwing that out there right away. Just craziness here, folks. Just wrapped up with Will Schusterick and Holly Finley. Hope you enjoyed hearing from them. It's been far too long since actually we heard from either of them. So
I love having Will on. Honestly, he is one of the most. I mean, I love having Holly on, of course, too.
You just emphasized as if I was
getting there.
Keep going.
But I started with I love having Will on because I think he is one of the best spoken players out on our sport. And then then to follow that up with Holly Finley just emphasizes
Equally as
that.
good.
Equally as good.
Very much so. I do agree with that.
You gotta let me finish. I'm not
no.
gonna leave Holly out of this.
You just had such a strong emphasis there. But no, it was really good having both of them. Of course, part of the beauty of this offseason, or any offseason for that matter, is I don't feel like any one person or company has to have an agenda, and hopefully we're not all agenda-driven in the first place, but there's no specific agenda in catching up with some of these players that either we haven't talked to in a while, or maybe I've seen some other stuff they have going on social media that isn't even hardcore, disc golf related. Whatever the case might be, I think this is a good opportunity for us to continue to do that. For those that were wondering, we did not break up with Dana. I did have a conversation with him today, and he said he would be willing to join us tonight, that it would be no problem. However, there was a illness in the house with his youngest, with Lucy, and he said he could go either way. He said last night was really rough. Tonight wasn't going to be much better. And I said, nope, if you need to, we got this. We can catch up with you. And he did say, he's like, I don't have a lot of anything going on in particular, so if you need me, I can help fill. He said I could throw some ums out there for you. He said otherwise, if you don't need me, that's all right as well. So we did not break up with Dana yet.
Not yet. We're gonna, we're
Fresh new year though.
We're separated but not broken up.
We're thinking about seeing other people. Would we go
it's
polyamorous with him, or
we could? It's a brave new world out there.
It is.
Yeah, the sickness thing is going around. My son had it literally Tuesday night. He kind of had a little cough. Wednesday, he wakes up and he's just hacking all over. And I'm thinking, like, really? We're leaving Thursday for this nice family trip, and you're getting sick now. And I'm sure everyone on the plane is going to love it, that you're, not that anything we can do. But he fought through that first day. He was kind of worn out. But after that, the pool solves everything for kids. And yesterday, my daughter seemed to have picked it up. So my son's much better, and my daughter's coughing now. But it's kids. They're gross.
Yeah, they are. Some of them are very gross, that's for sure. Well, we see you guys chiming in on the board. Thank you guys so much for joining us. As always, I'll make a quick disclaimer. We will follow along on the YouTube live chat. If you're following along on Facebook or watching, whether it's live or
Twitch
or after the fact, or on Twitch, we're sorry if you feel ignored. We're not seeing your comments necessarily in real time. But if you do want to interact, ask a question, or have something for us, the best place to do that is on the YouTube's live chat board. And I'm going to try and read down a few of the details.
Well,
Go ahead.
I'll say before you do that, we could talk real quick about, apparently on the Foundation podcast, someone was saying that Paul had talked about possibly needing surgery on his ankle. So that could be a big deal depending on when that surgery happens. He needs to go in for an MRI on his ankle, the one that he had issues with at USDGC. And if surgery is a solution, that could be a long-term thing. That could lay him up 6 to 8 weeks. There's so many options out there that we just don't know. There's a possibility we could not see Paul at the beginning of the season.
Very much so, depending on, obviously the severity and then what the recovery looks like. And then even when he is in recovery of this potential injury or this potential, we'll say, surgery, that's weird. Even when there is, just how fast and effective will that healing take place? Even if he had surgery tomorrow, of course, there's going to be some time to heal and rehabilitate and then get ready to go again. So I guess we'll have to.
We'll keep up on that story once we know more about it. It could be something simple.
They're just making stuff up for ratings over there.
It could be a goes in for a minor procedure and it's a 2-week recovery. It could be anything. And until we know more, we're not going to speculate much more than that.
I will say on a direct competitor standpoint of talking
Paul?
about Paul,
You're a direct competitor to Paul?
in some ways I am, but I'm not. No, what I'm talking about is one of his main competitors in Ricky Wysocki making the cross-country journey. We saw him hop in his Saki mobile a few days ago and head from North or South Carolina all the way over to Arizona. It looks like he was out at Vista del Camino getting some reps in as recently as today. So we saw him out there on the course, said he's feeling good. He's working on his diet and figuring out his routine. And I am going to give him some major props, as I did last night on his Facebook feed. He went out line dancing or country foursquare dancing, line dancing, however you refer to it. There was country music and there was dancing. And he said, I had about a 10-minute lesson, and I'm stepping outside of my comfort zone, but here it is.
Good for him.
I couldn't applaud him more. I personally, not a country music fan, doesn't matter. I had to refrain from saying it because it really didn't matter there. But huge props. I mean, I think it's awesome to see him out there and then to put himself out there publicly.
That's what I was going to say. Like, it's one thing to tell everyone, hey, I did this. It was awkward. I didn't feel comfortable. But then to put it out in the public the way he is great.
Yeah, I think I'm very impressed by that, and nice work out there, Rick. So.
As TJ Seneca says, try new things. I tried a lot of new things this weekend. I'm not a seafood person, but being right there on the Gulf, I tried a couple different types of fish and some shrimp with some different sauces, and none of it really appealed to me.
Did you have?
I had some red snapper. I had a grouper. I had some like basically almost like popcorn shrimp that was in some like some sort of spicy sauce. And I tried a couple different types of wine because I'm not much of a wine drinker either. It's never gotten to me. And I don't foresee myself ordering anything like that. But the tuna actually was barely cooked and sliced real thin. It was delicious though. It tastes more of like a meat, like a red meat type of.
Surprised you like that of all things then.
That was really good. But the actual cooked fish to me it doesn't do anything for me, and I know a lot of people really enjoy it, but that was not my thing. It's a lot easier to go ahead and try new things when it's on the company dime.
Yeah.
When
fresh uncooked shrimp is about the last thing you would go after, though. Is that right?
Oh yeah, no,
yeah, okay.
No, thank you.
That's what I thought. Yeah,
but my whole family loves it, not me.
I'm not that big of a fan. If I'm at a hibachi grill, that's where I would really love some shrimp. But yeah, I'm not a fresh shrimp fan myself, so I know how that goes. And if you want your opportunity, and I guess maybe it's come and gone now, but I was going to say, if you wanted your opportunity to try anything and everything wild or crazy or exotic, Japan Open 2008, 2010 when we were there, and other years, always a lot of options. They had a lot of Americanized options as well. If you wanted to go a little bit more conservative, or if you wanted to go crazy, those were all right there in front of you as well.
And I mentioned that at the dinner table that I think the last time I truly had fish was at the Japan Open because it was one of those places where you feel like if I'm going to have it, this is where you have it. So some of the freshest sushi you'll ever have, and just some of that stuff was really good. But again, most of the time the fish, not so much for me.
All right. Well, I've been fishing for a co-commentator in Big Germ. Yeah, Big Germ seems like something you'd pull out of the sea as well. But anyway, tomorrow it's happening, folks. I know
what?
I've been low key harping here for a few weeks, but Big Germ and I think have finally connected, and the Nantucket footage, which I looked at today, has been edited since September 26th or has been ready to go. Sounds like Big Germ and I are going to lock in tomorrow morning. In probably about 10 hours from now, we're going to lock in and hopefully get that knocked out. We've got rounds 1 and 2. I'd like to apologize. I will apologize that it's taken this long.
I will say, yes, a lot of people that are looking for it is everybody wants the footage. But the fact that it's going to come out now when there's not a lot of footage coming out is a blessing in disguise.
I agree.
Well, had it come out in, anytime before October, it probably would have been swallowed up by one of our major events.
Yeah.
That happens from September to October. This will let it, I guess, maybe give it a little more breathing room.
I totally agree, and I hope that it will. I think it'll be fully entertaining. Now, one of the exciting components to it is I will open by releasing the skins match that took place before the event. That happened on Friday night. There was a skins match that went down, and this was all right around the hurricane time. So mind you, there's going to be some of that comes into play. But the skins match happened on Friday night, $2,000 skins match, men's, women, mix skins. And then on Saturday morning, even though the tournament got delayed a little bit because of the hurricane, we got a full round in Saturday morning, had a lunch break, and then a full round in Saturday night. So we've got rounds 1 and 2, 2 camera coverage, all of that action out at Nantucket. And then there was a Raz round that followed that. That will be a separate video. So when it's all said and done, you're going to have the skins, 2 rounds of golf, and a Raz round, and that will all unfold in like probably a 2.5 or 3 day span for you guys to consume. And right on the heels of that, good buddy, I'm going to have a full day of talking tomorrow. Go figure. Johnny Rumble and I are going to tackle some Croatia commentary. Footage has been fully edited for that, and some of the actual play. Yes, there was golf during the Drava Forester. Johnny Rumble and I are going to be able to tackle some commentary and then give you guys the action. That's going to have the final round, which was 20 holes, and then they had a 6-hole finals in both FPO and MPO. So 20 holes of golf plus another 12 holes of golf, all broken up into some videos there too. So a ton. And then I've got a whole bunch of other footage I don't even want to talk about yet because that will also get released as we go. So look for that all to unfold in the next week. And, of course, I'm very, very excited about it.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right, so let's totally go off the rails for just a moment.
Typical.
Did you partake or did it cross your desk today, or, well, not today, in the last week, this whole exercise bike commercial?
Yes. And I will say this, that commercial, it's really funny that it's just recently hit because the commercial has been
out for months.
It's been out for a few months.
Okay.
I originally saw it and I made fun of it in general, like who like it just
who buys their significant other a workout machine?
No, not that, because I could totally see something like if my wife was really into cycling and it was something she really wanted, surprising her with something like that would be that none of that part bothered me at all. I did think it was a little weird at times, the excitement, or I always said, like, that's not how you look when you wake up. Wow. You're getting up at 4:30. That's not how that's a post-showered person, and you don't work out post-showered. The little funny things, but you could say that about any commercial, like where they're showing somebody who's sick. You're like, that doesn't look like a sick person. That looks like someone who's had their makeup done.
Or dare you say any sitcom where they wake up in the morning
and they're perfect.
They almost always look,
yeah. Their hair isn't everywhere, and so that was what I found funny. But the Peloton, I believe it is, that particular commercial just recently has somebody basically made a post or two, and then it's just exploded. It's become this viral deal where people are making fun of the guy for getting his already in shape wife or female friend, whatever the case is, a bike.
Don't you label them? Don't you label them?
Hey, I'm whatever. And then her sharing the whole journey after the fact, and I honestly don't really see any true issue with the commercial. It is people. I don't even think people are truly outraged at it. I think at this point, it is just a funny thing to make fun of. Like, I don't think there's really. Now, I'm sure you could say about anything. There may be a few people that are truly like, I can't believe this, but I think it was just a humorous thing that people are now building on and rolling with. And at that point, somebody was saying they were trying to find her. She's out of Boston because that's the name of in the ad, and it's just one of those viral meme things, and that's fine.
Yeah, I'll admit I had seen something about it, and then Dixon specifically had brought it to light for me in talking about it today. I had to Google exactly what it was. It was funny. I saw a meme that referenced it a few days ago, not knowing where the reference came from, and then today when I saw the commercial, I was able to put it all together. But it was, yeah, I think to me, and now I'll be the first to admit, we're two males that potentially aren't to be offended by it in the first place. So maybe it is easy for us to oversee something that's there. I'm the first to admit that might be the case. Whether you call that male privilege or whatever you want to say, that maybe it was just so steeped in us that we wouldn't even pick up or recognize it.
We don't have the perspective.
Exactly, the perspective for it. That's 100% possible. But in that same breath, I do feel like it really drives home a point of no matter what intentions are, somebody can always twist them into their own narrative.
The other, and maybe this is more, oh God, I'm going to get myself in a lot of trouble maybe.
Oh, wow. Don't say something stupid.
I might.
That's too stupid.
I
too
might.
Stupid.
So the announcer for the San Francisco 49ers was just suspended for a game because of something he said about Lamar Jackson that was deemed racist.
Oh, okay.
He said that he is better. I mean, I don't say better, but when he fakes a handoff, it is harder to tell because of the color of his skin and the color of his jersey and the color of the football.
Okay.
And so the way he presented it, from what I read, didn't appear to be overtly racist.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, to use the term, off color. Maybe not something you want to point out. But and he apologized. He said, listen, that's not clearly what I meant. I'll take the 1-game suspension, for being a commentator or whatever. But as you said, I don't have the perspective of Lamar Jackson or the African-American community. I don't have any of that. So for me to make a judgment at all about it is tough. But what I saw was I'm like, that feels like it's pushing, but clearly somebody was offended by it, and somebody was, and you can only, there'll be somebody offended by almost anything at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, and to me that was the major takeaway is I feel like if we want to, and I'm not trying to downplay this scenario, but in general, it's very clear that at any point we could find just about every single image or picture or video or snippet or whatever, and somebody could find some reason to be potentially offended by it if you really want to make the fight for it.
Did you and I talk about Disney Plus and how in front of Dumbo there's basically a warning that says, we know more or less, and I'm obviously paraphrasing, that we know that some of the stereotypes and caricatures are offensive. That this was made at a specific time in history. This is something that you have to know, because if the crows in that particular cartoon, one of which is named Jim, and then they are very, very stereotypical of what probably people saw African Americans of at that time, and it is, if you look at it, it is offensive, but it's a part of to me. It's a part of history.
It was a snapshot.
It's a snapshot of when that was created, and I have no problem. I like that they have it out there. I like that they have the disclaimer beforehand. It's one of the things that they'll say, and I don't ever recall seeing the whole thing, but Song of the South from Disney isn't even on a Disney service. There's nowhere you can find it unless you bootlegs and things like that, because it is so much more offensive that they won't even put it out. They're just like, nope. There's
not enough disclaimers for this one.
There's not enough disclaimers. There's no way we can put this out. But it is really interesting. I would love to see them probably put that out at some point with a big, hey, let's start a discussion. why is this bad now and it wasn't then, and things like that.
Not
but
sure that if it's
I don't see that ever happening, and
or if that's going to be worth it for them.
No,
Yeah,
Disney's just going to lock that one up and be like, yeah, that's the past.
Yeah. I had a few people reach out yesterday. I know I was having a storage war with myself. I was out there digging around looking for a few items. Of course, again, it's kind of funny. I think back to the specifically, I'm going to get a little bit specific on this. The 2015 Ledgestone event had Nate Heinold and Discraft really working together to come out with a number of really unique molds or variations. You know, a TI Comet was released, a Flex Sparkle Force was released. You know, these interesting combinations that certainly aren't production runs. And some of them were a big hit, and some of them weren't at the time. And I had purchased quite a few of them myself, as part of a program that allowed you to purchase them at a higher price than regular wholesale price, but obviously lower than retail.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be the first to admit I didn't jump on the instant excitement of trying to turn around and sell them right away. So I ended up sitting on a lot of them. And I know this actually sounds like a very common thread, because it is. So I sat on a lot of them. A lot. And then some people at some point said, well, I'm trying to move these. I ordered too many, and they're liquidating them, and so on and so forth. Well, it's come full circle. There are some molds and some new excitement that's been pumped into a few of these discs that people are, again, really excited, or I'll say maybe even a little more open-minded to, oh, hey, I've watched someone now throw a Comet, and I love how it flies. I would love to try a TI Comet. I just so happen to have 50 of them, or whatever the case might be.
The TI Comets, those are standardly available, I think. I thought those were the Michael Joe ones. Maybe not.
I don't think so.
Maybe not.
And it could be different since from 2015.
Correct. I'm not. Yeah, correct. The 2015 ones might be different, but I thought you could still get TI Comets, but maybe I'm wrong there.
Regardless, I have some sweet action. And yesterday I did what I like to do. Took a few photos. Immediately people were like, I want. And then I had to go dig for some more and then offer up some more. And it's something that I love doing because I think to, these unique runs and just the idea of people getting really excited in it. And really it brings to light the pendulum of just the disc golf interest, and it can be related to who's sponsored and who's not, or when someone's like, I really love the 2015 run of such and such disc, and the 2019. I mean, we'll flip it over to Innova and use a Nate Sexton example. Some people are like, oh, the 16 Firebirds, Sextons are amazing. I didn't care for the 17s. The 18s were in between the two, and the 19s, whatever. So it can be said of all the manufacturers, but it's just an interesting journey to see all of these different molds and models. I know Nate has got some pretty ridiculous things in store for the 10th year of the Ledgestone. He let me in on a little secret, which of course I can't share with you guys, but he's got some pretty, he does, and I won't just say from a disc perspective, he's got some pretty cool things lined up that I think a lot of people are going to be excited about. So
Luke nailed it, that the TI Comets were a tour fundraiser for him. That's what associated me and MJ to those. So correct, but his normal tour series is the ESP one.
The ESP, yes, exactly. So, I saw some of those. And then also part of this, a little bit of this madness is Peter Lundy, who we saw in the PCS Open coverage, who's like 19. He's the 3-time Norwegian champion already. He's like 19 years old. Plays for Team Innova. He was looking for a particular KC Pro AVRs that have the Rancho Cucamonga engraving on the underside. And I'm like, well, I throw KC AVRs, or I have for many years. Let me take a look.
And sure enough,
I knew this. It's so funny because I found some that are clearly prior to that, because he's like, I think this is right around 2014. I found a whole bunch that were prior to 2014. I found some that I picked out a few months ago. And then I had a bunch that must have been from that time frame because I found exactly what he was looking for. And he got a couple of very special ones. I found a leftover SmashBoxxTV KC
Ooh.
which there were only 25 produced of that from that year. And then also, Innova had done a very, very small run of Disc Golf Guy stamped discs, and 5 of which were KC AVRs. And believe it or not, he pried one of those virtually from Norway, pried one of those out of my hands.
I don't think he pried it.
No, I was honored to send it to such an upstanding young man. So he's got a SmashBoxxTV KC AVR and a Disc Golf Guy stamped KC AVR on its way to Norway, and I can't wait to see him do big things. So very, very cool. And then a lot of hype for sure. I cannot leave them out. A lot of hype and a lot of excitement around RPM this weekend as well. Having everybody get at least 2 RPM discs in their players packs. Everybody got an RPM shirt as well, which some lucky winner is getting tonight.
Nice.
Sweet RPM shirt. I got all the different sizes that you could need, except for extra small. So I hope you're not extra small tonight. That's what we'll be giving away here tonight. So thank you to RPM for the huge support this weekend at the Cold Turkey that I hosted. All right, I'm going to see if I can read down a few details here on our board. Jake Leputka said, I saw a comet go 1,250 feet at Solitude. Newsflash for everyone, that's a downhill mountain course.
No.
And uphill, I guess. Darren said, I remember when Macbeth threw one in those videos last year. Everyone lost their minds saying he's not throwing it right.
The comet?
I'm trying to define for sure which one. I don't know if it looks like he might be talking about a comment. Go ahead.
If it goes forward, I have a hard time believing that you're throwing it wrong.
I mean, okay, I guess.
I mean, we've seen everyone throw discs with plenty of different styles, but I mean, whatever.
One of the things that I think we, came as a result quickly, thinking back to last week, was I think we're going to see an in the bag or a building of the bag of sorts with Paige Pierce. I think that's going to be something that's in the works for her and Discraft. And one of the things that
the table.
Oh, did I do that?
You do that a lot. Like I always have my finger like just resting on the mouse button because I'm usually ready to do something. And Terry has a habit, and I haven't told him this in a long time, but when he puts his hands down, it's like this a lot, and you might even be able to hear it on the show.
Yeah,
and you bump the table, and so I constantly am clicking my mouse when I don't mean to, because I'm literally ready to click things, and then you bump.
You're
it,
literally
simply, like,
you're just always at
key
the ready to click.
I'm always at the ready.
He's
for the
got
click.
his finger on the trigger.
You
folks.
don't know
it's
what
that
I
important.
need to click.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely don't. The importance of your clicking.
You don't know.
So anyway, you will see
a building of the bag.
A building of the bag, and then also Jomez had released a behind the scenes to their last video that they did with Paige as well. And I thought it was really interesting the amount of work, as some of us know, but the amount of work that goes into putting together a 10-minute piece that took them 4 days to film, and they're as good as they are, and it still takes 4 days of filming, plus the actual time to then edit it together.
Assemble, edit,
yeah,
all that stuff. It's they do a phenomenal job.
Yeah. So go out there, take a look at that as well. Wow, it looks like I touched on most of my notes that I had. What do you got? What are you working on there, Johnny? What are you clicking on?
I'm clicking on and working on getting together our Patreon list so that we can do a giveaway when we're ready.
I do want to thank, I got a few people that have reached out to either the Smashbox or to me personally in recommending some. I think it was a week or two ago, I was asking about suggestions for wireless earbuds.
We've gotten a lot of responses.
Yeah,
I've seen.
I have, and so I appreciate all of you guys for sharing those with me, and I will put them all on the list and then figure out. As I told the gentleman today, I said there just needs to be that intersection of where these may or may not be something like a pair of sunglasses, where it's like you want good ones, or you want to spend a little bit of money, but you don't want them to be too good because there's a chance you could lose them, and that's where I am with sunglasses. And I know everyone has a different opinion. Like, someone's like, oh, I don't care, I'll spend $200 a pair of sunglasses, I'll have them for 5 years, and other people are like, yeah, I buy $8 gas station sunglasses
because I sit on them in the car sometimes.
Exactly.
True story. A couple months ago, I was digging through a box. I found some Nike sunglasses, and I don't even remember why I bought them. From our spring break trip
in 1999.
1999, when we went to the Nike outlet store in Orlando.
Wow.
And they were just Nike sunglasses.
And you called me the hoarder.
They were in a nice Nike case.
Really?
I had like three different sets, or three pairs of them with 3 different colors. And they're brand new because I never wore them, because I think I wore one pair, and for the most part it was like, I wear glasses and these are a pain in the butt. I don't know why I would have ever bought them. Clearly I bought them cheap at the outlet, or I never would have bought them. It was just funny that I found them. I was like, this is from spring break. And I was thinking, I wonder if these are worth anything, because they're legit Nike glasses. They're not like a knockoff from like 1998. And I never bothered to look any up, but I think they're upstairs somewhere now. I think I gave one pair to my son. I said, here's a pair of sunglasses.
I'd love to see what they look like.
I can go get them. I'll go get a pair. You go fill the time. I'll go get a pair.
All right. Well, we'll go to the Wayback Machine, literally, as Johnny's going to take them. Oh no! Oh wow! Right at our fingertips.
Here's 2 of the pair. The other pair's up to my son's.
The fact that you bought.
I literally.
And
I don't know why I bought them, other than I thought maybe at the time I'm going to get contacts someday, or.
Well, let me follow this up and say, what I'm shocked about is that I don't recall this, and I usually have a pretty solid memory.
Yeah, we went to the Nike outlet store. I probably bought them. You probably don't remember because I probably never wore them.
I don't remember. I like them. Oh, those are tiny. Like, these are like really small.
I have a smaller head than you.
Yeah, let me see.
These are yellow, obviously.
Yeah.
And the other pair is red that I have.
I do not remember these. Great. Now we're going to look like, didn't Dynamic Disc just have the
Keeping it real?
You don't have quite the hair that Melton does.
No, I don't. Right now, it's even worse.
I mean, I like them.
I found them in the Nike box, the Nike case.
They're legit. Nike is not an official sponsor of this program. Huh.
So
that is really crazy, though, that I absolutely do not remember these whatsoever.
I know I think I had 4 pair at one point, because I think I wore the blue. I think I had a blue pair. They must have been really on sale if I would have bought 4 pair.
No kidding.
My guess is $10 or $15.
Huh.
And I think I wore the blue pair for a little while, lost them, and then the other 3 pair just went somewhere into a box that I dug through and found just recently.
Oh,
exciting!
Yeah,
it's like an episode.
You don't see that on any other disc golf podcast.
That's right.
Us going into the Wayback Machine here for now. Some of those experiences, meeting people like the Sherrod family, and spending time or hanging out with them down there.
Meeting the Girthies back then.
The Girthies, and hanging out with Jim Oram, Sky South, Matty Oram's dad, of course, down there in Mobile, Alabama, and William Paquette, and Brad Hammock, who I believe was at least there one of the years. I think Ron Russell might have been at one of the years. We're talking 98, 99, folks.
I don't even know
how
I would look up like what model or anything these are. They've got no markings on them.
Huh. Oh yeah, and somewhere, this is maybe the real takeaway from all of that. somewhere there is 8mm tape of said trips. It was some, gosh, whose camcorder do we even have? I don't think it was a school's. Maybe one of yours or a relative of yours.
Would have been a relative of mine. We borrowed a lot of stuff from
There are
family.
tapes that are labeled 99 spring break on them. I have them somewhere. And those someday
We'll dig
will
those
make
out.
they will absolutely
We'll
make
convert
the
them.
internets.
We'll convert them and bring them up on the internet.
Definitely some classic stuff out there.
I did look inside the arm for any markings. That nothing. There's nothing. It wouldn't surprise me if these were like some sort of generic knockoffs. But they don't. They don't
They
appear
look
to be.
fully branded, and
they've
if you
got the
really got
Nike-
them at the outlet store,
That's my
I
assumption.
mean,
I know we went there, and because I remember we went to the Adidas outlet store, we went to the Nike outlet store, because I remember having a blue Adidas sweatshirt for the longest time that I loved, that I just eventually wore out. I don't know.
all the important stuff.
This is what you get in the after show. Let's give something away.
All right, let's give something away. Got a beautiful shirt here with the TUI logo on it. These were produced by our friend Miles over at Paragon Disc Golf. Warning, please keep this bag away from babies and children. Do not use in cribs, beds, carriages, or playpens. The thin film may cling to nose and mouth and prevent breathing. So there you go.
Yeah, it's a bag. Don't let kids play with bags. It's kind of a...
This specifically is a size large. I do have every size available. And just so you know, I collaborated with RPM to make the design happen, but ultimately, this is the first time they've had this done on a shirt and in this color. So these are actually pretty unique in that sense, and I'm super glad to work with them on it. So we will get those out for you. All right, if you've got the numbers here, Johnny,
I do.
we can get this dialed up for them.
We have...
Yeah, no, it's just the shirt, not the shirt and a pair of sunglasses.
No, we're not gonna... Not till I find out what they're worth.
Yeah,
first.
if they're worth $5 or less, they might be part of the pack next week.
Consider it done if we can find out what they're worth. No, if you want to be eligible for the Smashbox weekly giveaway, please join us on patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. We are going to be conversing very shortly about our yearly giveaway disc, our $3 and up disc. So we're going to be talking about that real quick to make sure that those get finalized. And our quarterly shirt if you're a $10 a month supporter. So thank you to all our supporters. We love you the most. But 195 people here have gotten on the list. Terry, give me a number.
Cold Turkey 14, baby.
So 1.
In 2019, how about the winner came off the second card? MP50? No. The winner came off the second card. Let's go with 2.
All right, the second number we have, we're going to generate the first number. That is 142. The second number is 159.
How are they organized here tonight, Johnny?
By first name. So 159,
Ooh.
Robert Robo Purdue.
Robo,
congratulations, Mr. Robo. Robert Robo Purdue. You are this week's winner. We got all the way down to the R's. So
Robert Robo Purdue. Thank you so much for being a Patreon supporter. Johnny and I will send you an email so that we can, first and foremost, confirm mailing address, and then secondly, confirm which t-shirt size that you need, and we'll get it out to you. And if somehow you're not going to wear it, well, then pick a size of someone who will, but we hope that you do, and tag RPM discs when you do get it. That would be awesome. I do want to quickly touch on it. I meant to make a post tonight. It didn't happen, so it'll happen tomorrow, but I'll say it to you now, exclusive for those listening in. We've had a Patreon disc giveaway for the last couple of years to all of our $3 and above Patreon subscribers. Thank you to all of you. We'd like some fresh artwork for it. And I'm not above paying, whether you want some discs or some cash or some extra hugs. Whatever, we'll pay you. You may want to do it out of the kindness of your heart, but we don't expect that. So if you want to do the Patreon supporter disc design, it likely could get used for 1 or 2 years, depending on how amazing it is. We'd love to know. Johnny and I, between the two of us, couldn't draw a single stick figure.
I can draw a stick figure. Barely
distinguishable. So if that's something that's up your alley, again, we do not expect it for free. If you would want to donate your time or efforts, that's fine, but we do not expect that. We are more than happy to pay for it, but we would like to get it put onto a disc. And then I will also couple that with, although they can be totally unrelated, we have for the last few years, I've been somewhat trying to keep our thumbnails consistent for a whole year. If you go out to our Smashbox page, the thumbnails that we've been using, at least for the podcast, outside of using the font and our logo, we'd love some new kind of general design for that as well. I think we had one in 2018, thanks to Rick. I think he updated it for 2019. If that's something that you think you could give us some kind of unique backdrop or design or overall look or theme to it that is distinguishable that we could use for a whole year in a Photoshop file that even I can edit, then that would be great. So enough pandering for artists, but those are a couple needs, and we both know that we cannot do those types of things. So
we know our limits.
Yes. And then we don't even reach those.
No.
Have you found your sunglasses yet?
I didn't.
This is gonna be a really serious quest.
At some point, I'll dig into it. Maybe I'll do it at work tomorrow.
Where were these in again? Like, what did you find them in?
They were in a box, literally a cardboard box that I had just a bunch of random stuff that has made the moves with me, and they've just literally been sitting there for 20 years. Yeah. I mean, clearly this one still has the sticker on the lens.
Yeah.
For the UV400.
That's crazy that there is no. I'd like to know, is UV400 still a standard?
I don't know.
Are we any better than that by today's age? And B, it's crazy to think that there's no distinguishable model markings on there whatsoever. I'm really shocked by that.
Same here.
Chris says they're most likely not collectible, but it's like this: the right person will pay for them. That Nick does ask a very valid question. What else was in the box?
I don't remember, because the boxes, I emptied out the box a couple months ago, so I don't recall. I think it was just like random. It might have been some old trophies that I just didn't have put up, and it was like disc golf stuff, if I remember correctly. It was just kind of junk, like I don't know why I had it, but this was the most exciting thing in there for me. I was like, I remember these, because they hung around my house for so long until I put them in a box somewhere. Clearly.
Speaking of storage, I think about to purchase another pallet or two of storage bins. And I guess why I'm saying that, why I'm mentioning it here is I have, for many, many years now, more than a decade or two, holy cow, used the industry standard or premier storage bins, which were previously made by Buckhorn. It's a company out of Ohio. They made these really great storage bins that had a totally different use, but I'm sure almost every one of you have now seen them by any of your major retailers or I should say on-course vendors. They're usually gray, and they're big, solid plastic bins. I was very wise at one point and just started investing in them and then storing all my hundreds and thousands of discs in them. And at a certain point in the last few years, after acquiring hundreds of those, they quit manufacturing them. Dynamic Discs worked out some agreement. I don't know the exact details of it. Maybe best I don't know. Worked out some agreement where they have a similar form of that bin, but it's not quite identical. A year or so ago, ordered another 50 of those bins. I've filled them, and I need to fill another 50 or 100. And so really my question is, is that still my best answer, or does somebody out there have an equally equal quality, a bin or a solution that's in that similar nature, and then have them at mass quantity? Because here's what happened when Johnny and I were in college. It's like, oh, I need something to store my discs in. I'm going to go to Walmart and I'm going to buy 7 Sterilite bins. Oh my gosh, it's going to cost me $36, but I'm going to buy 7 of them, and that's what I'm going to store my discs in. Well, every one of those will break, crack,
I've
smash.
got 4 of them back there that are cracked or broken.
And you don't even hardly move them,
Correct.
let alone, extensive moving or handling. I went through that phase. Total waste of money, because I didn't want to spend all this money on these other bins. And now it just feels like there's so few options out there outside of tracking down these specific ones. I guess I'd be curious to know if anyone has some other solution that's out there. And the one downside to these bins, to really get you guys excited about storage solutions, the downside is even when they're empty, they're oversized. So if you ship 1 or 2 or 4 of them to someone, you pay more in shipping them than you do than the bin itself cost, which might be $20-$25 a bin. They're incredibly expensive to ship just because they're of such a large size. So that's why ordering them in a pallet at a time is really the only way to do it. But not everybody has, a lift gate and a shipping receiving dock. Do you have any shipping receiving docks I can use?
No.
Nowhere?
No, and my company doesn't do any shipping or receiving.
That sucks. I need a shipping and receiving dock if I'm going to get a couple pallets of these.
I wouldn't trust you anyway. The fact that the pallets would get there and you'd be like, I'll get them at some point, and they would just sit there.
I'd come down with my car and load them all in. It takes me 2 trips. And you're close enough. I'd come get them right away. I retrieved them from Madison, Wisconsin pretty quickly. All right. Chris asks, why is there no major bin manufacturer? Because there's a very small subset of people that need storage of this scale.
Yeah, most people that keep their discs don't keep them in bins. They put them on, racks.
Yeah, you've been seeing, whether it's Simon Lizotte and a few others, most people have somewhere between, 20 and we'll say 80 extra discs. Madison Walker made a great post of her, how she adjusted and customized or retrofitted a rack system to hold her extra 100 or so discs. That's great. When you're talking about 6,000 or 7,000 discs, you need bigger solutions. So that's probably why. I'll admit there's not a huge market for them. Not a lot of people, I have an extra 400 discs. I'd like to put those all in bins. Yeah. And if you do just have 50 or 60 or 100, a Jimmy John's box works. Diaper boxes work great.
Yep.
Honestly,
if right size.
if that's what you need them for, I'm talking about also having, a disc that might be, I could have a bin of discs that are each worth $40 a piece, and then you have 30 of them in there. You want to make sure that they are absolutely protected. So, it's just a very small subset of people, I think, that need that type of storage. So that's probably why there isn't one. But if anybody knows, if you got a mold injection mold, wants to make me a bin, you know anyone with one of those?
No.
God, what good are you? Ryan says, I'm using disc boxes that were made for the Mad City Open in 2017. That sounds like it works. I could make you the greatest disc storage containers ever at the metal shop. Aluminum would be cool. It would be.
Heavy, probably, too.
Probably. What's great about these is that they also interlock and stack really well. That's definitely been a major component of these for many years. William says, I think Thunder Vans are unique. I want to bring that up. It's funny he said that because it's a total side tangent to all of this.
I'm unaware of this.
I'll be the first to admit, I did not read the entire newsletter that Innova sent out to distributors. But they basically said, hey, we misstamped hundreds or thousands of discs. like they were savants and they stamped them. They started to stamp them with Thunderbirds, or somebody can correct me. It's something along those lines.
So someone messed up somewhere.
Somebody messed up somewhere, and they said, "Hey, these are wrong, but do you guys want to buy them?" And sure enough, a lot of them were sold. And I think about.
So what disc are they? Is the question? Are they Thunderbirds or are they
William? Somebody
something else?
Don't make me go into my emails and look for this. They are stamped both sides and engraved Savant. So they're Savants that I think were getting a Thunderbird stamp, if somebody can correct me. And then they went ahead and made an additional stamp to make sure it was very clear that these were incorrect. So it's like their version of an X out. And I guess my long-winded question that's buried here is, how common is that in other industries to have an absolute mistake then still turn into this profitable selling item?
Are they selling it at full price?
I don't believe so.
Or they're selling. I mean, a lot of industries will do that. They'll take something that's messed up and sell it as a crappy item, so to speak, a messed up scenario. Or
do you find, okay, I'll just make up some example. SanDisk makes up a USB drive that they accidentally imprint 32 gigs on the side when really it's a 64 gig. We'll just make up that, right?
Sure.
Do you see that getting sold at a discount store, or do you see those getting liquidated? Do you see those getting destroyed? What do you think is like the most common practice for something like that?
For that particular company and that particular item, that would probably be destroyed. Wouldn't be it, but they would fix the labeling on it. They would find a way to do that. I mean,
let's say they couldn't. I mean, it was put on there.
I'd assume then they would get destroyed.
Okay. The accidental collectible, and this is something that came. This is a full 2 weeks ago. Here you go. I'll show you a little imagery here. They do have them on Disc Golf United. This is not a plug for Innova Champion Disc. They are not a sponsor of our broadcast here tonight. But they do have them on Disc Golf United. They have Star Thunder Vance at $18 and Champion at $17. So you'd find that that's essentially retail price. And it said, recently a fine batch of Star Thunderbirds slipped through production with the Savant stamps embossing. But the Thunderbird would not be denied its rightful place on this disc. With the addition of a humorous second stamp, he sketched his way onto the disc, and thus the Thundervant was born. Get one of these unexpected special edition discs while they last.
Okay.
Common? And just be very clear, I'm not, Innova is my example here, but just in other industries, something that's common? Is this a exclusive one-off that, these Nikes accidentally got 600 UV protection, but, labeled with 400, therefore you think that's a commonplace?
I think it happens more frequently than we would like to assume. I mean, every company will make mistakes. Just depends when you catch it. Think of baseball cards.
Yeah, sure.
You print the wrong stats on a baseball card, or
one that says "FU" on the bottom of a baseball bat.
Baseball bat. Thank you, Billy. That stuff gets through, and at that point, usually it becomes collectible because they're so rare, and it's anything from maybe action figures. I think of toys a lot, probably.
Sure.
But yeah.
And let's be very clear. I'm not like I'm not creating a judgment, a value judgment here on the situation.
No.
I'm just bringing to light what had happened, and this is one of the more recent ones. And I would love to be the fly on the wall at every one of our manufacturers when an error is discovered, what their thought process is for how they want to address it. and let's just use this exact same example. You know, an entire batch of wardens are produced. They're all stamped with the judge hot stamp or whatever on them, and then it's discovered, and it's like, what's done with these? You know, is that a special one-off? You know,
I would think if I were in charge, I would probably, and you don't want to take the time to wipe the stamp. Let's say you don't want to acetone it and
sure
wipe it. I would just restamp them, stamp something over them, and then you're like, oh, this is a double stamp warden judge or something. And we're fortunate in our sport that we can do some things like that. You know, that it's that simple.
And then there's the more intentional, and this is you can skip it when you see this in the next day or two. Eagle gave us a really interesting insight as him and I were doing the PCS Open commentary, and I said, "What is that Avery's throwing? It's got a Protostar logo on it." And I said, "Is that a whatever?" I said, "Is that a Protostar stamped Thunderbird, Champion Thunderbird?" He's like, "No, funny story." Avery found some Firebirds when he was in the factory once that he really liked. I don't know if he said they were flat or 11 time or whatever they were, but they were a particular run of Firebirds that he really liked. And then he had presumably gotten permission to then take a unique stamp and then put them on there. And thus far, totally unique disc that clearly is not available to the public. It's it's definitely one-off in that sense, and a disc that was never even really produced, with that disc and that stamp, and it obviously threw me off. Is just one example, and we know that
the old Macbeth stamped, the AVR stamped destroyers.
Yeah, exactly, where the oversized was stamped on there, and those are clearly more intentional, 100% intentional. I think it poses some interesting questions as to value, and whether it's a mistake or not, and then what happens with them after that fact. Luke from Australia says, we have a batch of Australian dollar redos.
It's an old Simpsons reference, I believe, is what he was saying.
Oh, I don't get your joke. Really? Okay. How many mystery boxes did you buy?
0.
You want to buy one from me?
No.
Mine's really good.
Nope.
Say it. That's probably what I'm thinking. Maybe.
Personally, I don't get the mystery box thing, but that's just me. I know every company does them now, and it's fun and it's cool because you can get some really random, rare, cool disc. It's a lottery. It's a
sure,
but it just doesn't do it for me. Like, and I know I'm gonna get you're going to get the value out of it. You're going to get at least probably usually. If let's say it's a $70 thing, you're going to get $70 worth of value,
or even 90 or 100.
Yeah, you're going to get more, depending on what you want. I just don't have the excitement for it. It's not my thing. If I want something, I want something, and I'm going to get that thing. Not here's money and let's see what I get.
But
that's
so clearly you just don't like the gamble of
correct.
Of possibly getting something extra special, though, because some of these things may not be totally,
available. No, I understand the concept. It's just not for me. It's not a thing that I need.
The only thing, and it sounds like Disc Golf Nerd's kind of where I was going with it. He says mystery boxes. I don't want one, but I get it. Mm-hmm. Dudes who order them and then complain about the contents, that I cannot support. And that's where I was going to kind of say, you're exactly right. You're playing a little bit of a lottery when you do it. The problem is when people don't get the most amazing mystery box, then they bring it to social media and complain about it.
When you get the average mystery box, like let's say you spend $50 on a mystery box and you get 3 champion level discs, $17 a piece about.
Sure.
And so that breaks your $50 barely, right?
Sure.
So, and then you're like, oh, I barely got, oh, I didn't get it. You want to? It's like, yeah, you
But
got,
someone got a basket.
yeah. It's like, cool. You got $50 worth of stuff. You paid $50. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't make sense. You don't expect to pay $50 and get $100, do you? In every box, somebody has to be the loser. It's you. You're the loser.
Yeah.
Like that stinks to be the loser, but yeah, the guy next to you got a Zucca cart. Welcome. You played the lottery and you lost. Like, and that's what I don't like. Luke nails it. Like going out on social media and complaining, or like say you order a $50 mystery box and you get a groove, a wombat, and like one destroyer, and you're like, I got one disc that I throw.
Yeah.
Like that, nobody throws these other discs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's that's part of the mystery box. Sorry, but so these companies can maybe unload some of the stuff they're not selling. Like, hint, hint, you're probably going to get something in there that nobody else wants because that's how they're getting rid of it. We've seen it for years and years.
Yeah, and
I've seen Terry do it. Like, oh, here's a bunch of stuff that didn't sell. All right, cool. I have to go to the local gas station, and I'll put some of them in there. I'll spread it out so that, whatever disc didn't sell, like, they get a bunch of good stuff, and they get, like, a handful of crap discs. And I could spread out the discs that nobody wanted for whatever reason. I just, and that's fine. That's not why it's not for me, but that's why I don't like to see people complain.
Yeah, what's too bad about that is just that everybody expects the best mystery box, and when you don't get it, then you take to social media, and like everyone has said, that's kind of where you lose me. I understand it's a gamble, but the one piece of feedback that I continue to see, and I'll just use Discraft as a specific one because I've been seeing that on Facebook, is they've drawn or given away their mystery boxes, but then they send you a tracking or information, and some will say, oh, you have a 3-pound box coming your way, which could have upwards of 6 discs. And maybe they're 6 really great discs, maybe they're 6 discs you don't care about, whatever. But then they send you somebody else a tracking, and it says, oh, you have a 27-pound tracking, and then that's when people already know, well, oh, I'm getting a basket. And so that's even that I find funny because you're reducing the mystery then before it's even shown up, but yet you should get tracking. I'm not saying they shouldn't be sending tracking.
I think it would be funny if they just put some bricks in one, like once in a great while. Like, here's a 27-pound thing. You're like, sweet, I got the basket, and you get it, and it's 6 discs and 6 bricks. You're like, you dirty sons of. Let's really keep it a mystery.
Yeah, that would certainly throw some people off. That's for sure. All right, Johnny, do you have anything else that we need to talk about here tonight?
I don't.
Okay. Doesn't seem like the board has anything else, so I think we can call it. This is our first week after Thanksgiving, so we hope that you had a great Thanksgiving, although that was never said.
Everybody ate to their heart's content. It's like the first year I didn't have any Thanksgiving meal or dinner because we were in Florida, so it was like,
oh, they didn't have Thanksgiving in Florida?
No Thanksgiving in Florida. No, they
didn't offer anything?
The whole city, because it's like a Wisconsin Dells, is closed for the season. We wanted to go on boat rides. We wanted to do, and you call them, we're like, sorry, we closed the day before Thanksgiving. We'll open up in January 2020. And you're like, I get it.
People aren't vacationing there?
No, because it's off season. That is a spring break destination. And so there was a few things that we couldn't do that we wanted to, but you get that. A couple restaurants that weren't open that, might be some of the nicer places. So, or they close at like 5:00. So, but I didn't get any turkey or, I had mashed potatoes with steak. So, but I didn't get any like traditional Thanksgiving dinner. So it felt weird this year.
Well, we hope that everyone got stuffed out there and enjoyed their Thanksgiving, and it was safe and fun and all those good things. So we're going to call it tonight. We want to, again, thank you guys for joining us. We know a little off schedule on the Wednesday night, but nonetheless, great turnout tonight, and it was great having Will Schusterick and Holly Finley join us in the regular show. Johnny, again, apologizes for effing up the after show from last week. Is that what you said?
I did accidentally post the main show twice, but yeah.
I only know because someone sent into us.
I resubmitted it, and everyone should have got the after show V2.
Well, we thank you guys for paying attention, keeping us on our toes, and wanting that additional content.
That's your mystery box from SmashBox. What are you going to get? What, you're going to download it? What are you going to get?
Well, and the good news is, and this does actually have a little bit of a valid point, though. We appreciate you downloading it, of course. If something like that ever does happen, just know it's always instantly or almost instantly archived here on YouTube. That might not be the most convenient, but if you're dying to get it, it will always be out here on YouTube, so you could go out and find it, and you can even listen to that in a faster speed like you can on your podcast app. So, and all the people that have reached out yet again saying, hey, I'm one of those people that appreciate a 3 or 4 hour show. Believe it or not, we get a lot of those. Thanks. Throughout the week, and we're glad that you enjoy the longer format of us rambling. So for Johnny V, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, that's been Podcast 276 After Show. We love you guys. Looking forward to seeing you next week on our regular Tuesday night. We'll see you then. You step inside the Smashbox.